You are listening to the Magnetic Marketing Marketing Secret Gold Members Only Podcast.
1981 was the year the Ultimate Sales Letter was published. 1981. 1983, the Ultimate Marketing Plan came after it. And over time, over 500,000 copies of both books have been sold and translated into multiple languages all over the world. For a 3-year span, the Ultimate Marketing Plan and Ultimate Sales Letter could be found next to the checkout counter at every Kinko's location in North America. They were the seminal books that not only made this man famous, but also helped spawn tens of thousands of entrepreneurs around the world to improve their marketing. Today, we have the man and the legend with us live to take us back to the building of the Ultimate Sales Letter and the Ultimate Marketing Plan. Please get up on your feet and let's welcome Darren Spindler and Mr. Dan Kennedy.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
So, Dan, a much better mid-year than last year, where it was you, me, 5 video crew, and some bad coffee.
The Holiday Inn hasn't got all the memos yet, but basically we're loose.
We're open for business.
We're loose.
So, my introduction to Dan through my business partner today, a gentleman named Bruce Davis. He and I are partners in our bowling business, but Bruce was introduced to Dan through a Dottie Wallader seminar and created an information marketing business after that. And one of the things that Bruce would do in his information marketing business would have book recommendations from time to time. And I came later to find out that he wouldn't often talk about Dan and his info product because he said sometimes you got to keep your best secrets. But I was out on a project at Kinko's, FedEx Kinko's actually. I believe it was FedEx Kinko's. Maybe it was just straight up Kinko's. Maybe the transformation hadn't happened yet. But I was waiting. My job was late, and the book spindle was there. And I saw the book with the bullseye on it, and it said Dan Kennedy. I said, I wonder if this is the guy that Bruce had talked about. And I open it up, and I'm like, well, it sure as hell has to be, because it just lines up for what I've been learning for the last 10 years from my mentor. So I bought that book at FedEx Kinko's, and I could literally walk into that store today. It's next to a Starbucks now, and literally go to the 2 carpet tiles and recall where I bought that book from. And for me, that was the book that actually changed everything. And I bought the book that day. The next day I went back and I got the Ultimate Marketing Plan book. And I guess the rest is history. So with that, Dan, why don't we talk a little bit about why in the world, even if we never want to sell a sales letter, why should we take the time to assemble a sales letter, even if I don't intend to deploy one?
So, first of all, why that would be the case is beyond me, because there's very few types of businesses that should not have in their toolbox at least a main sales letter that tells their story, but really they should have, a number of them for different purposes. But even if you were never going to mail one or tack one up on the web, what it does is it imposes discipline on you that many business owners, they never actually sit down, think through, and craft their story, right? They don't really get to clarity of what are we trying to communicate to our customers or our patients or our clients. Therefore, everything they do is disjointed. So the in-store atmosphere, the way the phone is answered, whatever ads they run, the website, it's not cohesive and congruent, and they haven't thought through, why should people do business with us? What's our rationale for existence? When you sit down, however it is you're going to do it, the method in this book or other, and lock yourself in a room, and you can't come out until you've done your main sales letter, it forces you now to do all this thinking. And the earliest method so if you can build a sales letter, you now have, essentially, you have a webinar. Essentially, you have a face-to-face sales presentation, and that may be where the sales letter came from, depending on your business. And now you have structure to impose. With bigger companies, I often find that I found it with Weight Watchers, I found it with Miracle Air, like there's no script. You sit in the phone room and you listen in on people taking the inbound calls. You listen in on the face-to-face presentation, and if you didn't know they were all for the same company, for the same product or service, you would think they weren't. So this, if you have to sit down with a stack of 3x5 cards and you have to start writing down one item per card on what's our story, why should we exist? I mean, so we got a donut shop and there's a Dunkin' Donuts right down the street. What's the rationale for our existence, right? And you start to do that and then shuffle the cards into an order that makes some sense. You wind up doing a lot of thinking about your business that you may never have done up until that point. And if you do it, it gives you two advantages. It gives you the basis for a presentation. Here's the story we are going to tell every time we tell a story, no matter how we tell the story. And it forces you to face gaps, even face up to, we actually don't have a reason to exist. Huh. You know, maybe,
it's a little problem.
Maybe we better fix that, you know, because a lot of people get in business because they want to be in that business. Their whole rationale for being, I had a member of what used to be Gold VIP mastermind group eons ago, and he sold a really good business, and they moved to a little seaside community, and he and his wife opened a gift shop of dolphin stuff, dolphin jewelry, dolphin shirts, dolphin hats, I think everything but dolphin in a can you eat, which might have been a better idea.
Probably more problematic today.
Yeah, more problematic today. Oh, yeah, I mean, you'll get emails now from, I'll be a dolphinist is what I'll be. But I asked him, I said, how many other gift shops are there? Right, well, there's a zillion. It's, you know, it's a row of gift shops, you know. I said, what's the market? Like, do cruise ships come here? Is it all locals? Is it, well, he's done it.
Whoever walks by.
He's done it the third question, right? We're getting in this business, in this place, because we want to be in this place, and we want to be in this business. Well, that's kind of a crappy story, right? You should give me money because I want it. So the sales letter forces you to think through, What's the most important thing we have to say? What's the second most important thing? What's the third most important thing? How should we say it? Et cetera, et cetera.
So Dan, one of the things that holds a lot of people back from creating their sales letter is they think that they're not great at writing. But you've said many times that you don't really have to be great at, quote, writing. You've got to be good at taking sales letter and themes and ideas and stitching them together. You want to talk a little bit about the preparation that goes in, and how can somebody who thinks they're not a great writer become a writer?
Yeah, so this is not content writing, which in some respects is easier, but in some respects scares people. So they won't do newsletters and they won't do books. And this is not content writing. This is not English lit. This is not, your 8th grade high school English teacher is not going to applaud any of this if you do it right. This is a sales presentation, a sales conversation in media, in this case, in a letter form. If you go to the original Joe Carbo book, A Lazy Man's Way to Riches, Joe had a sample, there's a sample in the book of the letter Joe wrote to his brother-in-law to sell his used car. That's what we're doing, right? So we're not doing Shakespeare. And you don't have to be able to write. You just have to be able to write down what it is that you or someone says that works in your business. So if you're a chiropractor and you can manage to do a case presentation and convert at least a fourth of the people you do a case presentation for, and you write down your case presentation, you have a big hunk of what would be your sales letter. Your initial conversation with the patient is, so this is about moving from manual labor to media. This is not about writing in the sense of the great American novel or even a great article. This is selling by words in print. Now, if you start where you're failing at that, and there's neither you or anybody in your business is any good at communicating your business by any means, so you're the chiropractor and you close 1 out of 50 case presentations, you're probably going to be out of business.
Probably don't want to transcribe that and make that the sales letter.
Yeah, you're probably, and by the way, practice does not improve that. The practice makes perfect thing is BS. I mean, if I go out every day and practice the golf swing I've got, all we're going to have is a lot of wounded people, and I'm not going to be any better at golf 6 months from now than I am now, because you got to fix the swing, right? So if you have nothing that works, you will not make a sales letter work, but that should force you to go figure out how to have something that works, right? But this is about writing down what you communicate, however you communicate it, that is now persuasive to people, right? And in many cases, it's not trying to be now sometimes the sales letter is to make a sale, and somebody is supposed to pick up the phone and call, fill out a coupon, go to a website and buy something. But often sales letters are about getting a step short of that. It's selling the appointment, right? It's pre-selling the stuff you have to say all the time before you really get to selling. It's doing some of that so your repetitive manual labor is reduced and it's said perfectly every time, regardless of what mood you are in that day. It's not necessarily replacing the entire sales process.
So, Dan, when you go to prepare to write the sales letter, you mentioned it already today, 3x5 index cards. What type of information are we gathering? Facts, testimonials? What are the things we need to gather up before we stitch together our sales letters?
So almost every pro copywriter will tell you they have some version of the table for the project, where all the raw material is gathered and placed, and they can walk around the table and start to pull things and put them together. And so Carlton will tell you that.
Yep.
Russell, the big guy with Partiv, the little guy. Russell will tell you that. People that write copy not for clients but for themselves a lot will tell you, Sheffrin will tell you that. Some version of the table. You set out to get all the information you can get, but not to the point that you're paralyzed forever because you can never get all the information. There's a good book, new book out. It's Annie Duke's second book. Annie Duke's a world-class poker player. If you saw the Year of Celebrity Apprentice with Joan Rivers, Annie Duke's the one that came in second. Her book is Thinking in Bets, and the subtitle is How to Make Decisions When You Don't Have All the Information. Right? So we can never get all the information, but we want all the information we can get. If you're writing for a client or you're writing for you as the client, the first rule is don't trust the information you get from the client. Right? You want it and you consider it, but you have to be really good at separating real information from belief system, because people have secular religions about their business that develops over time that that they think is information, and it hasn't been tested in ages, and it may no longer be true. So you're looking for facts, data, that sort of thing. You want to know everything you can about their current customers, patients or clients, broken out. What is the top 10% in value? What are they? What's the next block of them, 20%? What are they? What's the bottom you wish you didn't have? What are they?
Yep.
Right? So you want information about their customers. You want, of course, all the product or service information if you are selling a particular product or service. What does it do? How does it do it? Can we demonstrate it? How is it different than what people expect? How is it different than what competitors do? Which next gets you to, you want information about your competitors, right? Chet Rowland.
Yep.
So one of the things Chet did every couple of years when he was in the pest control business is he rented a house for a week, and he called every competitive pest control company and had them send a guy out, and he pretended to be a customer, and he role-played with all the competitors and saw exactly what they were doing. And that's incredibly smart, right? Most people won't take the time or effort, to do that. So you want your direct competitor information. You want your math information. So you need to figure things out like maximum allowable costs. What's the most you'll pay for a lead if you're going to write a letter to generate a lead? What's the most you'll pay for the sale if you're going to write a letter to generate the sale? Sometimes those are unrealistic numbers, and I will say to a client, forget it, right? You're stuck doing Facebook because the numbers you just gave me won't support print, they won't support broadcast, they won't support exhibiting, they won't support all the stuff you should be doing, but they won't support it. So you got to go change your math, right? One of the most successful companies in the subscription information business, right? I mean, they're happily mailing millions of sales letters that make, give or take, a $49 to $99 sale at a maximum allowable cost of $300. And then the game begins, right? So you got to know your math. And if the math is bad, you need to fix your math before you spend money on the media, because there's a gravity to all of direct marketing, to all of advertising, in particular to the sales letter. It will only do so much 90% of the time. Every once in a while, if you do a lot of them, you will hit one that goes out of the park and lands in another town. It did so well. But mostly, you're going to get base hits. House list of active customers that like you, and you mail a really great sales letter for a sale or a promotion or a new product or a new service. You can hope for 2%. You might get 5, you might get 1, but you ain't going to get 10. And so if the math you've worked out says this is a success if I get 10,
don't mail.
You're nuts. Right? If you the kind of the textbook of the direct marketing business, it's very boring. Is Direct Marketing by Bob Stone, and there's an entire section of math, right? And I call it money math. That's not what they call it, but it's the math you have to understand to effectively do direct marketing, and then narrowly to do sales letters.
Yeah. So Dan, certainly once we take some of the beginning stages here in this information, we then start to get into really the most important pieces of understanding how to get inside the head of your customer, client, patient. And you created really a list of 10 really smart questions to diagnose a market and profiling questions. Do you want to chat a little bit about, the questions like, for instance, what keeps them up at night? Why is that important?
Well, because when you get sophisticated at all about selling, then you get sophisticated about a thing like a sales letter. You begin to understand that purchases are more about the buyer than they are about the thing. And so this is an exercise in behavioral psych. That's what this is. And so things like product features and benefits are important, but they are only important if they are tied to some driving internal motivation, fear, greed, anger, etc. All sales letters that raise funds in politics Almost all of them are either rage letters or they are fear letters. These sons of bitches are going to try and do this, and we need your money to stop them, right? And, well, that now moved to commercial, to product or services. The same thing applies. Okay? People, only at a commodity level do people buy things because of the thing. Okay, oh, my garden hose broke, water spraying everywhere, I need a garden hose. It's not a sophisticated purchase. Okay? But when you get above that, even into consumer product like beverages or soup, okay, there's a emotional, psychological component to which one they buy. So you have to know as much as you can about the mindset, the psychology, the motivations of the audience that you are going to write your letter to. So again, I'll use Carbo's example. So if you're writing a letter to your brother-in-law to sell your used car, you have a huge advantage over, say, a car dealer, because you know your brother-in-law, okay? So if his ego gratification comes from being the cheapest guy on the planet and finding bargains, you then know that's how you've got to position this, right? If his ego gratification comes from being helpful to the family, then you're going to position this, you're going to write this sales letter entirely differently. It's going to be about buying the car almost as a favor, right? So you have a huge advantage. Well, that's the advantage you want with the group of prospects you are going to write to. So things like what keeps them up at night, gets Harry out of bed at 3 o'clock and downstairs in the kitchen with no light on, a piece of pie, and then a half an hour later, Marge realizes he's down there. What's that conversation? Ideally, you can write the conversation as if you were going to write a Broadway play, because that's going to migrate into your sales letter, and it's more important than what you're selling. Okay? See, hardly anybody, when you do face-to-face selling, so if you've ever sold, and all the great copywriters almost all have, there's exceptions, but not many. If you've ever sold nose to nose, toes to toes, at the kitchen table, on the living room floor, encyclopedia, fire alarms, burial insurance, the kind of stuff, nobody bought encyclopedia because they wanted encyclopedia. That's not what happened, right? They bought it because of what was going on in that conversation. Now, you had to kind of do a cold read face-to-face for me to get you to tell me which of the drivers was yours, like fear your kid was a dummy and wasn't going to be able to get into college. I got a solution. He starts at A, he goes to Z, boom, right? But if that's not your motivation, if your motivation is your kid's going to be the smartest kid in the school and get straight A's and get all awards, and you're going to have the bumper sticker on your car that says, I got a straight A student, I got to sell that differently. It's not the books, yep. Right? And so when you write a sales letter now, I can't get you to tell me, so I've got to cover them all. Unless I have a self-selection process in front of it. which is a marketing plan issue. But that's what you're doing with a sales letter, is you're selling to what keeps them up at night, what drives them. So like High Point University, I do some work for High Point. Because of this, I didn't have time, but I'm sure they jumped on it in a slightly more elegant way than I would. But 2 days ago, it made the news, and yesterday, this psychiatrist lecturer at Yale, I'm sure some of you saw it, people can actually get credit for going to her lecture. And her lecture was titled The Psychotic White Mind. And part of her lecture was how all white people are crazy. There are no good ones. And I fantasize all the time about shooting as many of them as I can. Now, if I'm High Point, this is my email of the day, okay? Because you could send your kid off to Yale, and this is what they're going to get.
Yep.
Here, they're not going to get that.
Yep.
Now, they'll say it more elegantly than I just said it.
Yep.
But I would rather they didn't, but there's political constituencies that, that get in the way. But now that's like a blast out, okay? But they have sifted and sorted prospects as they come into the funnel. And we know to a certain extent which parents are values-driven parents. That's what attracted them in the first place. We know it because of the questionnaire they filled out, et cetera. Some are not. They're outcome-driven. When the kid pops out at the end of the 4 years, is he going to be able to function, or is he going to be back in my basement? Now, they say that more elegantly than I just said it. But there is a whole chain of sales letters about that, right?
Yep.
So the Yale thing, ideally, is written about differently to the values-driven list than to the outcome-driven list, right? Same incident. So now think about the reverse of it, the product. Same product, but it is written about differently, or with the 3x5 card shuffled in a different order to different people.
And this gets to an advanced strategy, so 2 different sales letters, right? One for
or
this
3
person,
or 4 or 5
yeah.
or 10, okay? I'm sure Simpson
Where
said
80% of it's the same, but there's a version in a section.
Yeah, so there's a principle of mail order that the quickest way to go broke is mail the whole list. Okay? So this even applies to your own list of customers, patients, or clients. There's 4 or 5 different motivators in different minds that bring them to you and keep them with you. And they don't all have the same reason for being attracted to you and for continuing to buy from you. So ideally, you are finding this out so that you can split and customize messages, right? Again, if you could write every sales letter to your brother-in-law, you know so much about your brother-in-law, your sales letter would be really effective, by the way, even if you think you can't write, okay? But most people don't gather that kind of information. So how much you know about what's going on in the mind of the buyer or the prospective buyer, then that is as important to write about as it. So now when you gather stuff to use, You mentioned testimonials. So if I know what keeps them up at night, and I know what they want that they are afraid to talk about, and I know what irritates them about the business they're in if we're doing B2B, right? So like chiropractors are irritated by being thought of as third-class citizens in healthcare. So if you know that, right? So now, when you go search for your testimonials, you want testimonials that match up with these drivers. You don't just want random testimonials. It's not enough that people say nice things about you. You want them to say the things that match up with the reasons people buy from you. Yeah. That's what you want in a sales letter.
So Dan, I know that you also talk oftentimes about there's different biases for the way people make decisions, and you've got to take that into consideration, and also some of their own languaging and how you integrate those two components into the sales letter.
So first of all, most people are really bad at making decisions. Right? So the bad news about that is they've made a lot of bad ones, and they haunt them. The good news is they're really bad at making decisions. So it's important to understand that most people get to a decision for all the wrong reasons, right? They get to trust for all the wrong reasons. And you can't let yourself get trapped in selling based entirely on the right reasons, because you'll sell a lot less. So this is all psychological. Now, so how does Harry and Marge make a decision? So if Harry's really analytical and kind of prides himself on making really informed decisions, then he needs to see bars and graphs and pie charts and statistics, right? If Harry makes decisions impulsively, you lose him as soon as you break out the pie charts and the graphs and the statistics. So if your customers are engineers and academics, they make decisions differently than if they are salespeople, for example. So we have in the group a very successful financial advisor who target markets. His name's Jim Lang. And Jim target markets college professors. Now, most financial advisors would not want them because of the way they make decisions. However, his mother's a college professor, his brother's a college professor, and he's got a crap load of clients who are college professors. And he is professorial by nature. You have to stop him from being that with other audiences. So he has such a profound affinity match to that audience that he's 6 steps ahead with trust just when he starts. And he understands how they think. Right? He knows what the kitchen table conversations are. And he knows what their language is. And he knows how they like to make decisions. So he's enormously successful with them when someone in his same business would be unsuccessful. So not only can Jim do a good group presentation, and he can do a good, which, by the way, most of us would fall asleep. Okay? It ain't fun. And Jim could do a good one-on-one. Jim could do good sales letters. that, for example, fill the free seminars he does only for college professors, right? And there's no guessing there. Gee, I wonder what motivates these people. I know exactly what motivates these people. I'm surrounded by these damn people, right? So that's what you're looking for to help you, is that kind of an edge.
So on the same lines, I mean, why do you want to go search out who else is selling to them, who else has tried to sell to them? Because this helps make your job infinitely easier.
Sure. Comparables rather than competitors. You pay attention to direct competitors, of course, but a lot of people fail to look at comparables. And again, because the product or the service is actually a lot less important than the way the sale is being made, what's being said, and what's being written, then if I'm selling something that costs $8,000 to 60 years of age and up, I'm selling hearing aids. Anything that has been sold and is sold to that same audience that costs $8,000, it's useful to see their entire
Pitch.
Sales process, their entire presentation, and if they have a great sales letter, their sales letter. So certainly, like for that, the health category, right? So the guys that sell new bathtubs, it's useful to see. Okay? So that's a price comparable. If there's a process comparable, oh, this company gets my audience to come to a room and sit there and listen to something. And that's how I want to sell what I sell. It doesn't matter what the hell they were selling. It matters process. If they get them to come to a showroom and test a product, and I want them to come to a showroom and I sell window replacements, I want to pay attention to how a car dealer gets people to come to a showroom and test drive a car. No, I'm not in the car business, but we share a process, right? So any comparable is useful to study. And often you'll discover a thing. It's not like you're going to lift the whole process, but you'll discover a thing that you can move over and now integrate into how you sell.
So Dan, why don't we talk a little bit about damaging omissions and why you should address like the elephant in the room, because oftentimes, it's easy to write all the good things about your product and why they should buy it, but frankly, there's reasons to put in why they shouldn't buy it or a flaw that you might have.
Yeah, so there's two things about that. So one is there are reasons somebody shouldn't buy whatever it is you're selling. If there aren't, you're probably at the commodity level of the money pyramid, and I pity you. So there are reasons that, so I was talking with somebody yesterday about the makeup of our lifers. Long-term, high-value members, customers. And I said, contrary to what you would think as an outside observer, we do have liberals who have been, well, we do, who have been with us for a long period of time. Some of them like to be irritated. Well, that's why liberals listen to Limbaugh, right? Some hold their nose about certain things in order to get the other value that they want. So we've got them. We don't have many of them, but we got them. Okay? If you're target marketing for us, you wouldn't target them because basically we're inappropriate for them because my politics distracts them from the other value, right? So you have a flaw in your ointment somehow. Every product does. And there are customers for whom you, your business, and your product are inappropriate. Maybe your kid shouldn't go to High Point University. There's a bunch of kids who shouldn't. Yeah. There's a bunch of parents who shouldn't let their kids go there because they'll be unhappy with what is happening. Okay? Conversely, maybe your kid shouldn't go to Yale even if they can get in because look at what the hell is going on at Yale. So now you have two choices about how you handle that. You can ignore it, try to sell to everybody that's got a wallet and a pulse, and hope they don't notice. Right? Now that's the coward approach that 8 out of 10 advertisers, marketers, and sellers use. Right? And it's got all kind of problems, right? It often makes the end sales process harder. So now you need a super killer salesperson to close the sale. It often creates bad customers after the fact because they come out of the ether and they don't like this feature of the product, right? I mean, like if you sell a piece of home exercise equipment that does not easily fold up and slide under the bed, you need to be targeting a certain kind of customer. And number two, you probably ought to disclose it, right? Because otherwise there's going to be a whole lot of people unhappy and shipping the thing back, okay? Because they're only going to use it like 3 times and then they're going to put it under the bed. And the handle's got to point up so they can hang shit on it, right? Or they're going to be unhappy. So one approach is to ignore it. The other approach is disclosure and also using it. Okay? So the benefit of disclosure is the earlier you disclose, the easier, less stressful, less difficult the rest of your sales process is.
Well, it's the Ken Fisher approach.
Yeah, exactly. If you don't have $500,000,
stay away.
Stay away. The other benefit is damaging admission, disclosure, builds trust. So it can get you to trust quicker when you do it. If you keep it till late, so like I always disclose very early for my practice that it's a giant, from most people's perspective, it's a giant pain in the rear to communicate with me, okay? And you can't send me email, you can't text me, I won't join any social media, I don't answer the phone. You got to have a phone.
Outside of that, it's perfect.
Yeah. So you might as well know it now, right? And I'm not a cheap date. So you might as well know that now. That's the Fisher 500,000. It's not a number because what I do is not that simple, but it's not a cheap date, right? Now, actually, that gets you to trust quicker. Now, if you save it till the end, when here's the contract, And let me show you what's in the contract. Oh, by the way, here's how you can't communicate with me.
I'm not going to pick the phone up. You
Now
can't do this.
Sounds
you can't do
right. Yeah. So if you do it right, it builds trust. Then secondly, you may be able to use it. So here's the reason this product, here's the flaw. All right? And only certain people can handle this flaw to get the result they want. So like when I was working with Weight Watchers, I drug them back to two things that are true about Weight Watchers. Well, there's three things. One, it's actually the only diet that works. It's the only diet that produces people who lose weight and actually keep it off. Now, it's a small percentage, but it's a bigger percentage. Well, it is, but it's a bigger percentage than any other diet. Okay? And that's why they have a very high return rate. In a given year, 30% of their business is people who've been on Weight Watchers 3 or more times. And then they went and they did something else, and they did something else, and they got fat, and then they finally said, I'll come back to the thing that works. And they're back. So there's two things about Weight Watchers, reasons that it works. Number one, you got to count. Sorry, you got to count. You got to count something. Calories, carbs, points, but you got to count. Okay? Secondly, you got to weigh yourself, preferably at a meeting in front of other people. And you got to know you're coming next Wednesday and everybody's going to stand around to see whether or not you lost any weight. Those are the two things that make it work. Now, you see them shy away from saying it all the way to not saying it at all until the very end, right? And I put it in the sales letter right up front and said, a lot of people will not be willing to do these things to get a successful result. Some people just don't have the discipline. They started to clean their garage in 1983, and they haven't got it done yet. Okay? This is probably not for you. Okay? Some people think they're too busy, and they just have to open a box and eat what was shipped to them. This is probably not for you. That approach, right? Now, first of all, it drives some people away who are inappropriate customers, which is a good thing. Secondly, it bristles some people and sells them. Well, I'll tell you, don't tell me I don't have discipline. I'll stick to this. I get it. So it closes some sales. It creates price elasticity because you're selling to people who are willing to do difficult or unpleasant things in order to get the result they want to get from the product. Therefore, they'll pay more for the product. Okay? So I had it right in my front-end sales letter. And that's where I would typically put it, in my main sales letter. If I'm doing a lead generation sales letter, I would probably have it all the way up in the lead generation process.
Yep.
Okay? We use some version of appropriateness quizzes a lot, and we use them early. And they are usually rigged to contain all these things. The disclosures, the damaging admissions, the challenge to your ego, and the reality of what it's going to be like to be involved with this business. I remember the script when they sold you the Playboy Club membership, which was silver, gold, platinum. And,
Creative. Creative.
well, and the script included, okay, you're getting a membership, which gives you all these privileges. However, as you can see, we have a small, intimate club. So you may not be able to get a reservation the day you want to come to lunch or the week you want to come to dinner. You need to make reservations early, right? At the same time, you're paying to become a member. But you went, I mean, Disney's the same deal with the timeshare.
Yep.
They tell you, it's 6 months out. You damn well better be making your reservation. You're not allowed to make it before then. So at midnight 01, 6 months out, the race is on. And there's a lot more owners who want to be at Animal Kingdom with the room facing the giraffe than there are rooms facing the giraffes.
Yep.
And give us $100,000 for your timeshare. I mean, they're not afraid to do it. And I think courageous sales letters are better than coward sales letters.
Dan, we, inside the community, we've got ugly sales letters that are developed, and there's some really beautiful sales letters that are developed. Where does the ugly sales letter fit in? Where does a much more beautiful sales letter, a designed sales letter fit in the mix? Because both can work, but where are they appropriate?
So message matters more than anything. Okay? And you should never forget that. Okay? So when the graphics folks get a hold of you and want to put 6 letters on a page and a picture, that ain't going to cut it. Okay? So the message matters more than anything. Then you can answer your question. You have to have some sensitivity to the audience, and especially with the front end, what they will assign credibility to and what they won't. Okay? But you can't overdo that either. So the corporate CEO, so a version of this is everybody in a chiropractor office should have, the staff should have on white jackets, like doctors and nurses, with their name on them. And the chiros should all have stethoscopes, even though they don't use them. Right? The chiro office that has people in polo shirts with their names on them, you see that at Subway. Right? So you've turned your staff into sandwich artists. It's not reassuring. Okay? The chiro office that just lets anybody dress any damn way they please, that's even worse. Okay? There's an expectation people have when they come into a doctor's office. Now, if you want to violate it for differentiation, you got to go all in, and you got to sell it. So, like, we have a member, I have a private client, Dr. Angles. And their dental office is a kind of a Hawaiian island. And it's a big selling point. The rooms, each room has a name. This is the Believe room, and and it's all decorated with fish and stuff and Wyland paintings, and you are coming to your, island retreat. All right. Now, you got to sell that. And they do very effectively. So there's no rule. Okay? And so I've been very effective, even at the corporate level, delivering ugly. It stands out. That's all they get is brochures, right? So it stands out. Now you immediately have to sell it. Why have I sent you, Halbert's old line? As you can see, I've attached a dollar bill to the top of this letter. Why have I done such a thing? 3 reasons. Number 1, number 2, number 3, okay? So some version of that very early, or you don't have any believability, right? If you are selling to the same people all the time, as we do, then you want to mix this up. You don't want to just arrive the same way with the same look again and again and again and again, because now you're committing the ultimate marketing sin. You're being boring, right? So if you're selling to a different audience physically, okay, the 9 years I sold from the stage to huge audiences at the Success Tour, I basically wore the same. I got to the point I had the suit that worked and the tie that worked, and that's the suit I'm wearing. I had to have 2 of them because we did a Tuesday and a Thursday, and you didn't have time to get it cleaned. But that's it, right? But if you're going to do the same audience 20 times a year, you can't do that. It's like, right? So you got to mix it up. So the same thing is true with print material. If you're going to people a lot, and you may even need to mix it up in the box that goes to them. So there's a real pretty brochure, and then there's an ugly 16-page sales letter that rides with it. You may need to mix it up in a sequence where ugly, pretty, ugly, ugly, pretty, right? You may need to do that. Now, there's a piece of good news about it. When you get a sales letter that works, often all you got to do is change its suit and mail it to the same people again, okay? Because different people pay attention on different days. That's why you never get, you look at your list and you look at your offer and you look at your great sales letter and you say, everybody's going to respond to this one. No, because different people pay attention on different days to different things for different reasons, right? So Ron Ipack, who you know, some of you would know Ron, for a year in Titanium, what is now Secret Society, Ron had a basic sales letter to generate leads from auto repair shop owners, a booklet, self-mailer, right? Ugly. And all we did, he mailed it every month, same list, changed the color of the outside page, the outside cover. That's it. Didn't change anything else. Got the same response the 7th month that he got the 1st month. Mm-hmm. And anecdotally, some people would say, this is great, where have you been all my life, right? I've never seen anything like this before. And you think, well, but I sent it to you like 6 times already. What the hell is wrong with you, right? And someone else would say, I got that thing every month. And finally,
You got
you
me.
know, you got me. So when you get a sales letter that works, you can move it around. So you could take an ugly one and you could turn it into something pretty. You could take something pretty and turn it into an ugly one. And to the same audience, because when you get a list that works, which I'm sure Craig told you, if you get a list that works, your own, rented, borrowed, compiled, whatever, you want to use the list as much as you can. And one way you do that is changing the way you show up to it, but you don't want to change the message that works when you show up.
That's great. So why don't we talk a little bit, once we finally get our message that works, and we get a sales letter or two.
Can I tell one story?
For sure.
So this is instructive. And so for the first, I don't remember how many years now, but I don't know, 4 maybe. Carla might know. For the first X number of years that I was on the Peter Lowe tour, the Success Tour, like everybody else, Tommy Hopkins, Zig, Brian, all of us, I suited up. I went. I sold as much stuff as I could, got the customers, brought them home, and the game began. I didn't do anything with the non-buyers. Now, this is beyond stupid, by the way, which is why this is instructive. So, for whatever reason, one day in 1 year, I don't remember why now, but I said, hey, Peter, let me have the list of all the ticket buyers. Now, that doesn't get you all the non-buyers in the room because they come in clumps, but still, a crowd of 15,000, it would get me 5,000 names. I said, I'll call out the ones who bought my stuff, and I'm going to mail them a sales letter and give them a second chance to buy the stuff, and I'll give you the same split that we split when I sell, because I want the customer.
Yep.
I don't, you know. So he says, well, that ain't going to work. I said, yeah, I don't care. Give me the list, right? So then we took my speech, transcribed it, changed the front. So I took out the, hey, don't leave.
Yep.
Because if you leave now, you're just going to sit in your car, bumper to bumper. You're not going to go anywhere. So you might as well stay and hear me. Take that out and stick in, hey, you were there, and you didn't get my stuff, right? And there's a couple reasons that might have happened. One, you might have left early because some idiot with you insisted you go, right? Two, you already bought a ton of stuff, and you swore to your spouse you weren't going to buy anything, so you just wanted out of there, whatever the reasons were. And I'm going to give you a second chance, same offer, and here's why you should do it. Boom. Then the transcript, same speech, change nothing. All right? And the end is the same close, and it's the same offer. It's even the same order form. Right? I mean, it's not like we stayed up all night.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? This thing never failed to at least break even. Sometimes it made money, but it never failed to at least cover the cost of the mailing after the split to the house for the use of the list. We're even, and we got 200 more customers.
Yeah.
300 more customers, right? Now, having known this, which I've been teaching appointment, no sale, 3-step letter follow-up since 1979, and that's all this is appointment. Now, it was an appointment with 15,000 people, but it was an appointment, no sale, right? Why I wasn't doing it from day one, kick my ass, all right? But it tells you so I got a sales presentation that works. I can take that sales presentation, put that baby in print, and we can mail it. We sold the magnetic marketing system to the Nightingale Kodat list. Now, Nightingale Kodat insisted on prettying up the letter, to your point, because they couldn't bear to mail what I gave them to mail, right? So it got prettied up, and it got abbreviated a little bit, because they couldn't bear to send whatever it was, 16 pages, 18 pages. So I think it got cut to 8, which they weeped over. But essentially, it was the same sales letter now to people who weren't there and didn't buy, just cold to a Nightingale Kodak audience. And we sold a ton. It was their third most successful house direct mail campaign of the year. So when you get one, you want to saddle that baby up every way you can. Now, when my follow-up letter started to work, because I'm a generous guy, I went to Zig, I went to Tommy, I went to Brian, and I said, look at what I'm doing. You should do it too. It ain't rocket science. Just transcribe your speech and mail, right? And here's my numbers, right? The answer was, which is probably why I wasn't doing it in the first place, I just gave them my best dog and pony show, right? I mean, I suited up. I came out here, I entertained them, I performed, I gave them my best pitch, and they didn't buy. They ain't gonna buy now, right? They're too dumb to buy. Right? And I gotta buy. It's over, I would say. But here are the facts. This is not a theory. I got facts. I got data, and I got money. You should do it too. And really what we should be doing is we should be sending a letter to all the Zig buyers from Zig who didn't buy Tommy's stuff, saying, I really appreciate you buying my stuff and you made a great decision, but then you made a bad decision because you didn't get Tommy's stuff. And we should have a letter from Tommy selling Zig, right? This is what we should do, right? And everybody looked at me like a tree full of owls, you know. And my point being, don't let this happen to you. Don't let this happen to your business, because often, even in successful companies, they're leaving as much money on the table as they're getting. And they have something that works that they just don't use to scoop up more of the money.
So, Dan, we're going to leave it at that because we're going to go to break. And we'll be back with 3 sessions after lunch. And thank you for the morning.
Thank you all.
You've been listening to one of our Gold Members Only podcasts. Make sure you upgrade and become a Diamond member and get access to the Diamond Members Only podcast as well. On top of that, you'll also get access to the whole enchilada with all of Dan's courses and so much more. So make sure you upgrade to Diamond now by going to diamondupgrade.com. You are listening to the Magnetic Marketing Secret Gold Members Only podcast.
Hello, and welcome to Midas Touch Direct Marketing. On this first cassette, we want to lay the foundation for many of the most important ideas, strategies, terms, and methods that Dan Kennedy will be talking to you about on the other cassettes in this package, in the Magnetic Marketing Toolkit, and in his No BS Marketing Letter if you are an Inner Circle member. My name is John Dale. I'll be with you for the next 30 minutes or so, previewing these key items. Item number 1, targets. Mr. Kennedy accuses most business people and marketers of playing blind archery, a most dangerous game. Instead, just about everything he recommends to you revolves around accurate, precise targeting. This means having a very clear picture of who your current best customer is and who you want as a new customer, and who your particular mix of product, service, price, value is best matched with. It's surprising that most business owners really do not know their customers well and cannot describe that customer in great detail. But if you cannot clearly see your target, it's hard to hit. Item 2, lead generation. This means the acquisition through some method, advertising, direct mail, trade shows, consumer shows, whatever, the acquisition of leads. That is, well-qualified prospects that match your target descriptions for follow-up. You'll learn that in many cases, using lead generation advertising, you do not advertise your product, service, or business. Instead, you advertise for exactly the person you want to respond. You advertise for the target. Item 3, lead generation magnet. This is the little extra that makes lead generation advertising most productive. A lead generation magnet is most often made up inexpensively out of paper and ink, often a free report of informational value to your target market that also serves as a long-form sales letter, a next step in your process. This is discussed at length in one of Dan Kennedy's Magnetic Marketing Special Reports, How to Print as Much Money as You Want Legally. This report is usually provided with your Magnetic Marketing System Toolkit or is available in a collection of special reports for $49.95. Here is the most important objective serviced by these first 3 items we've discussed. Strategically investing most of your time and money in talking only to those people identified and who have identified themselves as most likely to respond favorably to what you have to offer. The earlier in the game you narrow your focus to just these high probability prospects, the better. A related objective is to spend your personal selling time only with those people who are predisposed to buy. When you have a good multi-step marketing process that forces prospects to jump through multiple hoops before they get to you, automatically winnows out the low probability prospects and pre-sells those that remain. Your person-to-person selling time reaches peak productivity and value. One of the most important things that you can learn from Dan Kennedy is how to use the tools to do your spade work for you instead of you doing it all with manual labor. So at this point, just a few quick questions for you to consider. Number 1, how much do you know about your customer? Number 2, how would you describe the person you'd most like to attract to you via advertising in comprehensive detail? And number 3, what information can you offer that will be irresistible to your target and compel him to respond to you? Item 4, marketing message. What exactly is a marketing message? It is the news that you have to spread. The most important thing or things that you can say to your target market that has real meaning and significance to that target market. 2 categories of information included in most marketing messages are A, the universal selling proposition, and B, the unique selling proposition. A universal selling proposition is made up of all the things that you have to say and offer, even though, and maybe because of, your competitors offering these same things. For example, being open on Saturdays may be nothing special in your business. Everybody does it. But you still need to mention it because everybody offers it, and to omit it would make you stand out in a negative way. But a unique selling proposition is the thing or things that differentiate, that you do differently, that are different by personality, price, offer, guarantee, whatever, so as to make you stand out in a positive way. If you don't have one of these, you'll want to start searching and brainstorming in order to find or create one. And Dan would encourage you to look outside of your industry for breakthrough ideas. He says that, at best, incremental improvement can come from doing what is normal better. Breakthroughs come from bringing brand new ideas into an industry. If you happen to own a service business, for example, you'll definitely want to read the story of Larry Harmon's DeMar Plumbing in Dan's book, How to Make Millions with Your Ideas, to see how someone created multiple unique selling propositions. Incidentally, people who struggle with this unique selling proposition challenge often ask Dan to give them one. Can't be done. If you could just be handed a unique selling proposition on a silver platter, it wouldn't be unique to you, now would it? Only you can create your unique selling proposition. Item 5, media. Media is a non-manual, labor-intensive means of delivering your marketing message to a target. Different media work better for different businesses, sometimes at different times. If you are a business-to-business or industrial company, media you might typically use would include trade or industry magazines, maybe the Wall Street Journal, exhibiting at trade shows, and direct mail. If you market to consumers, your media choices might include newspapers, Valpak or money mailer, radio, or direct mail. In all cases, the important thing to remember is that you are, from now on, going to only use media that can be used for direct response advertising, not institutional or image advertising, and that you are only going to do direct response advertising. Think of this as tough-minded advertising. This means that every dollar invested will be expected to yield immediate direct response. This, incidentally, begs some basics. Elements that must be present for it to be considered direct response. 1, a benefit telegraphic headline. 2, a true marketing message. 3, an offer or offers. 4, a reason to respond immediately. And 5, response instructions and mechanisms. If these 5 things are not present, you're not doing direct response. To discuss media options for a minute, for business-to-business or industrial marketers, Dan prefers lead generation advertising in trade magazines, then direct mail, and sometimes, finally, telephone follow-up to these leads. If you look at your trade magazines in your industry, you'll find that almost all, if not all, ads push product. The ad that does not push product instead flags the attention of precisely described individuals and then offers those individuals free information of interest and value to them really stand out. Also, while cold mailings try to reach business decision makers have massive waste, a lion's share will usually get screened and trashed or thrown out unopened or unread. But delivery of requested information to a named decision maker who requested and remembers requesting that material is much more productive. For consumer marketers, there's a greater variety of often productive options. For many businesses, media like the Yellow Pages and coupon mailings like Money Mailer and Valpak can be made to be reliably and consistently deliver true break-even or better results, satisfactory for acquiring new customers. Also, many businesses cold direct mail, such as a sequence of letters, can work neighborhood or geographic farms or affinity farms, which I'll discuss more in just a few minutes. Item 6, the sales letter. As you study all of Dan Kennedy's methods, you will find that the sales letter is one of his staple, most used tools. In many instances, Dan will utilize a sequence of letters, each one clearly referring to the previous ones, all sent in a fairly condensed period of time, most commonly 4 to 6 weeks. It is important not to be intimidated by the task of putting together sales letters. You do not need to be a Shakespeare or a Hemingway to get this job done. A good sales letter actually is selling in print, so they are conversational and they have personality. Your letter should be written pretty much like you talk. In the Magnetic Marketing Sales Tool Kit, you'll find plenty of samples you can slightly modify and use without having to start from scratch and crafting sales letters for different purposes. Also, in Dan's book, The Ultimate Sales Letter, you'll find a simple, step-by-step process for writing sales letters with examples for every step. Of course, Dan is available for copywriting as well as complete marketing consulting assignments, but most people are able to do it yourself with the aid of these materials. Item 7, the Plant the Farm sequence. This refers to using a time sequence in communicating for the first time with a particular group of targeted prospects called a farm. There are certain rules that you will learn to apply to the Plant the Farm process that then change when you move to a Maintain the Farm mode. For example, in most cases, in Plant the Farm, you're going to use plain white paper, a pile mail, an envelope with no company or business identifications, logos, or teaser copy on the outside. A simple sales letter, the first thing seen when the envelope is open. But once a relationship is established, this envelope format is no longer mandated. In fact, then postcards, self-mailer, and catalogs become effective options. There are a number of different kinds of farms appropriate to many businesses or sales professionals. Certainly, the most common are simple geographic. All of the homeowners or all of the business owners within a defined geographic area, such as a zip code or a sales territory. But you can probably learn to be more selective and sophisticated than that, and you'll learn some of the keys to doing so in one of the Magnetic Marketing Special Reports, How to Turn Mailing Lists into Money, usually provided with the Magnetic Marketing System Toolkit. Another frequently productive farm is an affinity farm, a group of people that have something significant in common but are not necessarily boundaried by geography. For example, if you are a fireman, but as your part-time business you sell water purifiers, you may want to target all the other firemen in your town or nationwide. And in your sales letter, you would lean on this affinity. For example, Dear fellow firefighter, I'm a fireman at the Cincinnati Firehouse number 3 in Cincinnati, Ohio. If there's one thing that you and I rely on for our very lives, yet take completely for granted, it is water. But I am not writing to you about the water that blows out of our truck hoses to save lives. Instead, I'm writing to you about the water that comes out of your faucet in the kitchen at home, and may very well be robbing you and your family of life by destroying your health, and so on. There are other types of farms you'll be learning about too. Item 8, the free recorded message. Many companies are discovering that the use of a free recorded message number in their lead generation advertising and other advertising and in sales letters and otherwise significantly increases response. People are often more willing to call knowing that they will get information via non-threatening recordings than to get on the phone with a live person who will try to sell them something. And the free recorded message is often used in advertising offering lead generation magnet. This totally automates the process for you. Prospects call, listen to the message, then leave their names and address when prompted. Zero manual labor on your part or your staff's part. I'm sure that you're beginning to get the big idea here that Dan Kennedy's methods can dramatically change, even transform the way that you acquire your customers or clients. Hopefully, you've already gotten some useful tips from this message alone. But before we conclude our session, I want to talk to you about the big, overriding, giant objective here that goes beyond any one or two specific techniques. When you ask most business people what they do, they answer in a very telling, limited way. A fellow who owns a jewelry store will say that he's a jeweler. Even someone who owns a chain of jewelry stores might describe himself as a jeweler, or at least, I own jewelry stores. A chiropractor would say, I'm a chiropractor, and so on. The first thing that's worth altering about this, purely from a marketing standpoint, takes us back to the issues of the marketing message and the unique selling proposition. Think about this. Will the way you describe what you do cause a crowd to gather at a cocktail party? Everybody eager to ask questions and hear more? If not, then you have an interesting creative task ahead of you to redefine what it is that you do so that the description itself is magnetic. For example, Dan does not say that he is a marketing consultant or a copywriter or a speaker. He says that he devises direct marketing strategies and systems that cut out all the waste and fat out of advertising and make salespeople 1,000% more productive. So, a chiropractor might say, I help people eliminate back pain, neck pain, chronic headaches, or stress-related pain, often instantly and quickly, and develop personal health regimens for greater energy and longer life. But although this is important, it is here a distraction. The other bigger idea about the way business people describe themselves and what they do, and perceive what they do, is what Dan calls the paradigm shift that makes all the difference in the world. Instead of being a jeweler or the owner of jewelry stores, this person must become a marketer of jewelry. The carpet cleaner becomes a marketer of carpet cleaning services. The manufacturer of electrical components becomes a marketer of manufactured electrical parts. This shift in thinking, in orientation, in who you are, refocuses you on the single most important and most financially rewarding aspect of business, marketing. The money is in marketing the thing, not in doing the thing. If you want to become a money player, you'll make this shift. There are actually several big shifts and orientations to be made here. For the sales professional, it is to vehemently and totally reject everything you've been taught or forced to do in cold prospecting, manual labor-intensive prospecting. You must reject this old way of obtaining prospects or appointments with decision makers. You must embrace positioning instead of prospecting and set up magnetic marketing systems congruent with your positioning so that your targeted, ideal prospects call you and request your assistance. On the one hand, this is insurance against burnout. On the other, it is the fastest path to the very highest earnings in your field. For the business owner, it is the shift from doing what you do or making what you make to marketing what you do or make. And then, once the commitment is secure, to being very tough-minded about only direct response advertising and direct response marketing. As you can see, you are going to be challenged as you proceed here to make very fundamental changes in the way you view yourself and your business activities, the way you invest your advertising and marketing dollars, and the value you place on your own time. So a warning. As you listen to Dan and work with his materials, be careful not to give in too easily to the past, to preconceived limits, to instant not for me responses. It's natural to be in the instant reject mode, natural but spectacularly unproductive. Clinging to the way we've always done things would have us lighting our offices and stores with bigger candles and outside pooper-scoopering up after our customers' horses in the street, while at home our wives stand ankle-deep in the creek drying our clothes on rocks. This is a fantastic opportunity to give yourself the ultimate competitive edge of going completely outside the box and bringing back genuinely innovative yet proven strategies. Don't squander it. Well, that wraps up the time that you and I have together. On the 3 remaining cassettes in this program, you'll hear from Dan Kennedy personally, sharing some of his most important and universally applicable direct marketing strategies. And you are certain to make money as a result, just as thousands of new Kennedy students do each and every year. But I hope you won't stop here, that you'll move on to the magnetic marketing system, and as an inner circle member to a continuing coaching relationship. If you have not received an inner circle membership invitation packet, by the way, please fax or call Dan's office to request one. For Dan Kennedy, this is John Dale.
Welcome to this cassette series on direct marketing. I'm a strong, enthusiastic advocate of direct marketing. For most businesses, small or large, direct marketing consistently delivers the best results for dollars spent. We need to begin with an understanding of direct marketing versus other types of advertising, promotion, and marketing. Let's talk first a little bit about the others. There is institutional advertising. This type of advertising is often intentionally used by big corporations and blindly copied by smaller ones. It essentially says to consumers and or to stockholders, here we are, Here's who we are, here's what we do, and we're nice guys. But it never asks anybody to buy anything or to take any action. It's image building. Some examples you're probably familiar with include the Goodyear blimp flying over football games, the Unisys, Hewlett-Packard, and Rockwell TV commercials seen during the Sunday morning news programs and during some sports telecasts, most bank advertising, Time magazine signs in airports. This is all pure institutional advertising. Advertising agencies, consultants, and the media love to sell you this type of advertising because there is no possible way to measure its effectiveness. Is it working? Is it paying for itself? Who knows? The next, slightly more sensible approach is what I call non-measurable response advertising. This type of advertising is trying to sell something, but is still basically unaccountable for its results. TV commercials for a particular brand of car fall into this category. The intent of those commercials is to get you interested enough in that car to go to the showroom. But there's really no way to tell how many people who came to the showrooms this week were influenced by those commercials. Would they have come anyway as a result of the dealer's own newspaper ads? Who knows? Many smaller businesses get trapped using this type of advertising. Appliance, record, clothing, department stores all run sale ads. Here's what's on sale, come on in. But they have no means of determining how many people came because of the ads versus how many might have come anyway, or how many came from an ad in one media versus the same ad in another. They can guess. They can take this weekend's higher traffic, less last weekend's traffic, and attribute the difference to the ads. But it gets worse. If they advertise the sale via the newspaper, 2 radio stations, and flyers, how do you tell what works and what doesn't? Again, ad agencies and the media like to sell this type of advertising because it's difficult for the advertiser to measure the results. Another type of marketing is public relations and publicity. There are firms who you can retain to prepare news releases and articles about your products or services and your company and work at getting them placed at various media. These firms may also arrange interviews and talk show appearances. Although you can measure them by how much actual exposure they get for you, it's generally difficult to then measure how much business came from the exposure. Also in this category is the sponsorship of everything from a Little League team to an Indy 500 race car or a golf tournament. All 3 of these types of marketing probably have some place in a business's total marketing plan. It is my firm belief, however, that these methods are grossly and deliberately oversold to clients by media and professionals because of their resistance to results measurement. It is also my opinion that most businesses, the owners of small businesses and the executives of large companies, stupidly waste outrageous sums of money on these non-measurable marketing options. I would much rather see money spent where the results can be definitively and accurately measured so that changes can be made to develop successful response levels for every dollar spent. To do that, you use direct marketing. Included in direct marketing, number 1, media advertising that asks for a direct response. The ad has a coupon to be cut out and sent in or brought in, a phone number to call with a code somehow attached to identify the source of the call, or an order blank to use in making a purchase. Direct response advertising is 99% measurable. I'll explain the 1% added benefit factor later. Number 2, direct mail that asks for a direct response. Coupons sent through the mail to be redeemed at stores or dealers or by mail. A letter announcing a sale with an invitation that must be used for admission to the store after hours. A letter with a card enclosed good for a 2-for-1 dinner special at a local restaurant. A mail piece that asks the recipient to call to request a certain free booklet. Number 3, radio or TV commercials that ask for a direct response, that ask the customer to call in or write in or come in and mention the station's call letters in order to get a discount or free gift. Any advertising media can be converted to direct response type advertising and can be results measured. Number 4, telemarketing that asks for a direct response, such as an appointment for a salesperson, an actual purchase right there on the phone, or inviting the person to come into the place of business either by appointment or with a certain assigned code entitling the customer to discounts or gifts. Number 5, personal selling. I'll tell you about one of the greatest direct marketing strategies for a small business that I've seen lately. My home doorbell rang. I answered the door. There was a young guy in a clean, neatly pressed Union 76 gas station uniform. He handed me a vinyl wallet with a cardboard insert filled with little coupons, one for a free front-end alignment, one for free lube and oil with filter purchase, a free battery recharge, $30 in gas discounts, and so on. He quickly delivered a pitch, ultimately offering me the $240 coupon book for $25. I bought instantly, partly because it was a great deal, and partly because I appreciated the technique and the initiative. I asked around during the next few days and found that my brother, another person in my office, and a neighbor had all bought too. I suspect that the salesperson keeps most, maybe even all of the money. The gas station acquires the new customers. It is a brilliant direct marketing idea that many different businesses could use. Of all these direct marketing methods, I'm most partial to direct mail. I like direct mail for many different reasons, including, number one, there's lots of options regarding format and cost. Number two, you get things directly into the hands of the prospect. Number three, at least for a brief moment, you have the person's undivided attention. Number four, it is completely results measurable. Number five, it can be combined with other marketing methods. And number six, you can learn to do your own copy and graphic work. There are several different ways you can use direct mail, too, including acquiring or attracting new customers as a pre-approach prior to a telephone or personal call, and to communicate with existing customers. I suggest you immediately begin opening and reading all of your so-called junk mail and building files for each of the categories of uses I've mentioned. Keep the pieces that strike you as interesting and effective. I love junk mail. Thousands of companies spending millions of dollars to educate me about savvy marketing techniques that I can adapt to my businesses. The big companies that do a lot of direct mail marketing are very sophisticated in their methods. They employ the very best writers and consultants, people who often command anywhere from $5,000 to $50,000 just to write a sales letter. These guys are sharp. You can learn from their work. Computers are also used to monitor response differences traced to all sorts of variables. These companies test, and test some more. So your junk mail is bringing you the end results of collaboration between the brightest direct marketing minds and the costliest marketing research in the country. How dare you throw it in the wastebasket? I can promise you this. It doesn't matter whether you are a salesperson, a small business owner, or a corporate executive. It doesn't matter whether you sell to businesses or consumers. If you'll thoroughly study and consider the information and ideas presented in this program and take appropriate follow-up actions to switch the emphasis of your marketing into methods that bring direct response and are results measurable, you will improve the profit of your business. And I want you to remember this. Any media salesperson, any ad agency person, any consultant, anyone in your own firm who is anti-direct response does not have your best interests at heart. The person who opposes having the results measured accurately already knows that the results are inadequate. I come from the advertising business, by the way, and once owned a small ad agency. Our clients included many small companies as well as big firms like Goodyear Aerospace and Monsanto. I've also worked with other ad agencies as a freelance copywriter, a consultant, a trainer of account executives on presentation skills. Frankly, the business is very much a smokescreen and sleight-of-hand business. You'll be presented with demographic statistics from a given media that are just great. Unfortunately, the listeners or readers all lied when they responded to the survey in order to look good and feel good. They inflated their incomes, for example. Print media loves to snow you with its pass-along figures. They'll talk 100,000 readership with 20,000 subscribers. When you have to write out the payroll checks, pay the other bills, pay for all the advertising, pay the taxes, and then see what might be left for you, you cannot deposit pass-along statistics or image in the bank account. You can only deposit dollars which come from real results. Think, talk, and invest in measurable results. There is, by the way, a 1% added benefit factor inherent in direct marketing. Those who do not respond to a given mailing or other direct marketing effort still were positively exposed to your company. There is a cumulative effect of such exposure that creates additional customers over a long period of time, and you will benefit from this. However, I'm opposed to counting it, to attributing cash value to it to offset marketing costs. Your marketing should pay its way with current, measurable results. I will cheerfully tell you that I am not very well liked by certain folks in the ad agency, media, and consulting businesses for my strong criticism of non-measurable marketing. However, I insist that any business not devoting at least 50% of its total advertising, marketing, promotion budget to direct marketing is mismanaged. I would never buy stock in a company not putting over 50% of its marketing money into direct marketing. I encourage you to be very tough-minded in your marketing investments. Ask the tough questions, like how will we know how many dollars were derived from this media or method? If there is no good answer, there's only one good decision. Quick, list all the assets of your business in their order of cash value. Your buildings, your equipment, your inventory, your account receivables, your patents and trademarks. Which are more valuable than the others? Stop the tape, take a pen and pad, and make the list. If you are like most business people, you left the number one most valuable asset off the list, your customers. The only industry that properly values its customers is the mail order industry. That's probably why the reputable mail order firms take much better care of their customers than most other types of businesses, because they appreciate the full cost of acquiring a customer. And they actually do carry them as assets in their financial records, so lost customers diminish their balance sheet as well as their income statement, as it should be. You can take away my corporation's equipment, even my personnel, but leave me my customers, and I'll have it all back in 6 months. It costs a tremendous amount of money to get a customer or a client. Most businesses actually lose money on their first sale or sales to a customer if you cross the full customer acquisition cost against the profit on the first transaction. Your business has an investment in each customer. The key to keeping customers long enough to derive maximum return on investment is a marketing concept called the top of the consciousness principle. Using it to your advantage relies heavily on direct marketing. First, let me tell you about a thing called marketing noise. That's a catch-all term representative of the tremendous amount of marketing going on all around us. Billboards, car and truck signs, bus bench signs, displays and signage in stores, flyers stuffed in bags, flyers under windshield wipers, direct mail, brochures packed in with purchases, brochures in with credit card and utility bill statements, radio commercials, TV commercials reduced from 60 to 30 seconds, telemarketing, personal selling, cable TV shows that are really commercials, ads in magazines and newspapers. The average adult consumer is presented with more opportunities to spend money today in one 8-hour period than he was in 30 24-hour periods just a decade ago. There is a mammoth amount of marketing noise bombarding the consumer, vying for his discretionary income and his credit. In business-to-business marketing, the same basic situation exists. Although there is less cold call selling going on today than at any time I can recall, there is much more business-to-business marketing taking place. The card deck ad media has been invented in the last decade. The number of business magazines, newspapers, and trade journals carrying advertising to the executive and business owner has more than tripled in the past 5 years. Trade show attendance is at an all-time high. Audio and videotapes, computer discs, and other electronic media are being used as brochures, as well as in place of sales calls today. There is a mammoth amount of marketing noise bombarding the executive, manager, and business owner. Then within all that marketing noise, there is all the direct competition in your particular field. Competitors who grow more sophisticated and aggressive by the minute, not only competing for new customers, but also attempting to take away your present customers. What are you doing about it? Your best strategy is the top of the consciousness principle. This principle says that you will do things to get and remain on the very top of the consciousness of your customers and clients. McDonald's, for example, has done that most successfully. I did my own little informal survey using a word association game. You know, I say a word, you say the first word that pops into your mind. I say tree, you say shade, that sort of thing. Buried in my list was the word hamburger. Guess what? Nearly 40% of the people said McDonald's. The others answered with words like bun, ketchup, cookout, but only a few mentioned other fast food restaurants. McDonald's dominates the consciousness of the fast food customer. It's for that reason, more than any other, that they continue to prosper, while companies like Burger King and Wendy's, for example, are struggling, as of this recording in 1987. McDonald's has sustained this top of the consciousness position with a sophisticated, admittedly expensive, multimedia approach. TV, radio, magazines, sweepstakes and contests, characters like Ronald McDonald, jingles, visible, distinctive locations, sponsorship of charitable causes, different campaigns aimed at different age groups. Actually, the only thing McDonald's does not do well is use direct marketing. If they ever add this to their marketing mix, they'll permanently destroy some of their competitors. You have to find ways to command the same type of position in the minds of your customers or clients and prospective customers or clients in your marketplace. You can do so by imitating a multimedia example like McDonald's. There are also direct marketing methods perfect for this purpose. One of those is a 10 to 12 times contact program directed at customers and selected targeted prospective customers. In such a program, you directly contact and communicate with those people at least 10 to 12 times during the year, not including their visits to your place of business or their routine transactions with you. In doing so, you might use birthday cards, seasonal greeting cards, postcards, newsletters, catalogs, special offer mailings, telemarketing, personal sales calls, and ad specialties. I particularly like the use of a customer newsletter as part of this contact program. I use this for my consulting business. I teach doctors to use it for their practices. I know printers, clothing stores, beauty salons, and restaurants who use this method. Hotel chains and airlines have picked up on this technique in connection with their frequent traveler clubs. The Sahara Hotel in Las Vegas uses a newsletter. It's perfect for accountants and attorneys. Any company selling through dealers, distributors, or retailers should use this method. I also like the use of personalized thank yous to build customer loyalty. People like to be appreciated. It's a very simple thing, yet so few businesses today do anything to say thanks. We recently tried a new messenger service for the first time. The next day, they delivered a nice flower and a little crystal vase to our office with a thank you note. I think that's brilliant. The next time we need a messenger service, I can assure you that my secretary is going to think of them. Direct mail is a great way of increasing the frequency of spending of customers or the order size of customers. You can also use direct mail to motivate customers to purchase slow-moving items in your stores, come to your restaurant at a slow time, stay in your hotels during the off-season. Here are some simple ideas to carefully consider. Number one, most businesses invest too much in chasing new customers and too little in doing additional repeat business with their existing customers. Number two, the satisfied customer is predisposed to purchase again, purchase more, and purchase something different. Number three, it costs less to motivate a known customer to purchase again than to acquire a new customer. Number four, customers are only fickle because a new competitor is paying more attention to them than you are. In business-to-business marketing, many companies make the huge mistake of having all their contact with their customers go through the sales representative. This leaves the customers vulnerable to theft if the representative jumps to another employer. It also leaves too much opportunity for negligence on the representative's part. Regardless of the layers of distribution between you and your customer, you should establish some direct link. The owner of a restaurant can do that by coming around and chatting personally with the customers. The chief executive officer of a large company can do it with a newsletter and maybe a hotline telephone number. Here are some of the ways that direct mail can be used to communicate with established customers. Number one, to introduce new products or services. Number two, to give advance notice of and explain price or fee increases. Number three, to offer special discounts or premiums. Number four, to provide useful information. Number five, to give recognition to top customers. Number six, to announce seasonal sales. Most of the remainder of this cassette program will focus on new customer acquisition through direct marketing. However, the points we've discussed in this message are extremely important. I've rarely seen a business that could not increase and improve through increased direct marketing to present customers. Now, here's a real marketing secret. It is a true secret. Most companies make a critical, crucial error in this area. I've personally made this error many times. Here's the secret. When marketing to established existing customers, you should still tell your entire sales story every time. Do not make the mistake of assuming knowledge on the part of the customer. Do not take shortcuts with existing customers. And do not feel that you are boring them by telling the same story repetitively. If you have quality, service, guarantee, price, or other advantages, point them out each and every time you deliver a sales presentation. American business desperately needs to place a new, higher value on the customer. That's been the message of Tom Peters' initiated excellence movement. It's the message behind the government hearings currently taking place investigating the airline industry's abuse of its customers. If your business is not performing as well as you would like, it's a message you should listen to also. Communicate with your customers, and you'll do more business. The main thing that gets people interested in direct marketing is its value as a means of acquiring new customers or clients. With the increased and ever-increasing costs of doing business, it is critically important for the owner of the small company and for the salesperson to be cost-effective in marketing. That means that good control is exercised over the cost of getting a new customer. Many businesses grow their gross at the expense of their net, at least partially through uncontrolled new customer acquisition costs. They can literally grow themselves right out of business. I found that the best way to develop methods that work consistently, predictably, and cost-effectively in acquiring new customers is through direct mail marketing. When you develop a successful, cost-effective direct mail program, you've got an extremely valuable asset. You've got a system that you can use over and over again for a long time with predictable results. To use direct mail to effectively acquire new customers or clients, you have to deal with demographics. Demographics are the statistical information about people that marketers use to select and target their prospective customers and clients. Today, computers have added a huge extra measure of sophistication to the collection and organization of demographics, so that it is literally true that, if you can describe it, you can get it. This makes it critically important to know as much as possible about your present customers and your desirable customers. The more information you have about the commonalities in your customer base, the more efficiently you can select prospects. Here's a partial list of demographic information you might compile about your consumer customers: age, sex, marital status, home ownership, car ownership, major purchase behavior, credit card possession, income level, occupations, response to mail order offers, magazines subscribed to, cable TV subscription. By collecting and analyzing data about your customers, you might find, for example, that a significant majority of your best customers are between 30 and 35 years of age, male, married, own their own homes, have bought a new car within the last 3 years, have bought a VCR or television set in the last 2 years, have an American Express card, earn between $30,000 and $40,000 a year, are engineers or middle managers, are known mail order purchasers, subscribe to Playboy, and have cable television. If you have that information, you have the power to very efficiently select a new group of targeted prospects. In business-to-business marketing, there may be different demographic information that can be compiled about your customers, such as size of company by annual sales, size of company by number of employees, ownership of buildings or other real estate, major purchase behavior, credit card use, type of business, magazines subscribed to. By collecting data about your customers, you might find, for example, that a significant majority of your best clients are companies with between $1 and $3 million in annual sales, between 100 and 200 employees, own their own plants or office buildings, have bought a computer in the past year, have a corporate American Express card, are in technology manufacturing, and subscribe to Forbes magazine. If you have that information, you have the power to very efficiently select a new group of targeted prospects. How do you get this kind of information about your customers? Ask. One excellent method is the use of anonymous surveys. Information gathered with anonymous surveys is most likely to be accurate. On the other hand, many customers won't respond to such surveys. For that reason, at another time, you may need to survey your customers with identity attached, by mail or phone, and even offer some gift as an incentive for response. The problem with such surveys is that people will lie. You can improve the accuracy of your data by crossing your anonymous survey results with your identified respondent survey results. Commonalities verified by both types of survey can generally be relied on as valid. You can also compile information about certain types of customers through research. The objective of all this is to find demographic commonalities in a significant percentage of your good customers. In consulting with companies, I am consistently amazed at how little marketers know about their customers, or if they have knowledge, they aren't paying any attention to it. I consult with a firm that sells investment real estate, for example. They know that their best, most active investors are engineers, yet they've done nothing with this information. They haven't advertised in trade publications aimed at engineers. They haven't done any direct mail to engineers. Let me tell you about one of the best examples of the importance of demographics to a small business that I know of. A woman owned a very exclusive fashion store in a pricey shopping center in a wealthy suburb. She kept no customer mailing list and actually knew very little about her customers. She said it wasn't necessary. Most of her customers lived in the high-priced condominium community right near her store, and she regularly advertised in the small newspaper that serviced that community. She was finally convinced to start building a mailing list. Guess what? 2/3 of her customers lived 25 to as far as 40 miles away, in middle rather than upper-income communities. They came to her store based on their perception that it was where the super-fashionable people shopped. She was shocked. By using that information, she was able to conduct direct mail campaigns into those areas where her customers really lived. As a result, she tripled her business in just 6 months. Ask yourself, how much do you really know about your customers or clients? Is it possible that some assumptions you've made about your customers are incorrect? Are there commonalities that are shared by many of your customers that you are unaware of? Is there information you already know about your customers that you aren't using? Dr. Napoleon Hill, famous Think and Grow Rich author, emphasized accurate thinking as one of the key characteristics shared by the hundreds of successful business leaders he studied over a 20-year period. It is not possible to employ accurate thinking in your business without accurate information about your customers. You can use accurate information about your customers to select new prospect mailing lists, make new product or service introduction decisions, and create direct mail and advertising pinpointed at your customers' interests. For any one of these reasons, it would be worth the effort of collecting and compiling information about your customers. But when you consider all three uses for the information, it is obvious that collecting such information might be one of the most profitable things you ever do. Another issue connected to demographics and the use of demographics in prospect list selection is the definition of the customer you want. Advertising genius David Ogilvy started in the ad business by making a list of some corporations he would most like to have as clients. His attitude, if you have to pursue new clients, why not pursue especially desirable ones? Goal setting is an important part of business success. As part of the goal-setting process, you should determine who your desirable customers are. There may be differences between your existing customers and your most desirable customers, and you'll need to take careful notice of those differences, explore why they exist, and determine what strategies are needed to attract and satisfy those preferred customers. Welcome to the wonderful world of mailing lists. To the uninitiated, it's usually a real shock to discover just how many different mailing lists are available and how sophisticated you can get in selecting mailing lists. I want to emphasize right off the bat that 99% of all small business and small company owners have very minimal knowledge of this subject. They know very little about the availability and use of mailing lists, particularly those tied to national databases. Taking the time to acquire and creatively use this knowledge can be a huge competitive advantage. I have in front of me the SRDS directory, Standard Rate and Data Service. This is a directory of just about every mailing list and mailing list supplier in existence. My issue from November of 1986 consists of over 1,600 oversized pages crammed with tiny 8- and 6-point typed listings and descriptions of one list after another. There are 3 basic kinds of lists. Subscriber lists, those people who subscribe to a particular magazine, newsletter, or other publication. Generally, they're available as is, separated by expires, current subscribers, and hotline subscribers, that is, the very recent new subscribers, and by many other basic sorts, geographic, for example. So a list of the Better Homes and Gardens magazine subscribers for the city of Chicago is easy to get and readily available, for example. Then there are purchaser lists. The buyers of just about anything and everything are available. Here are a few examples. Omaha Steaks customers, Maple Grove maple syrup buyers, purchasers of tickets to the Boston Ballet, Brooks Brothers mail-order customers, mail-order buyers of Giorgio perfumes, General Nutrition Corporation vitamin customers. Many different sorts are then available in most purchasers lists. You may be able to specify by the amount of their average purchase, by repeat purchase behavior, by use of credit cards, by the recency of their ordering, and of course geographic area. Compiled lists are different in that they generally come from different sources, merged together rather than one, although a notable exception to that is business category lists compiled from the Yellow Pages. A good example of a compiled list is chief executive officers of companies with at least 50 employees. That list is put together from information in various directories and from telephone surveys. You can rent these lists as is, in their entirety, broken down into specialized sorts or merge-purged. Each list will offer different specialized sort capabilities. You'll want to consider the value of each one of these as it relates to your defined needs. You can get geographic sort in just about any list, at least by state, sometimes by county, city, or individual zip codes. This allows the small local business to access the national lists. This also allows you to test a promotion in just one area, to zero in on an area for a grand opening of a new outlet, to target market by area for any number of possible reasons. Sometimes there are recency sorts available. Subscriber lists, for example, often offer hotline lists comprised of people who have subscribed or renewed within the past 90 days. These recent buyers are generally more responsive than the regular list would be. Although no one knows for sure, we believe this is true because of their interest in a given subject being very current. If you come along with a related offer, the timing is right. Sometimes there are frequency sorts available. This lets you take only those people who have bought more than once from the same company. Unit of sale is a popular selection criteria. Some buyer lists can be broken into several price categories, $5 to $50, $50 to $100, $100 or more. In some consumer lists, it's possible to select only those from the list who own a home, or who use credit cards, or the head of the household, or who fall into a certain income range. In some business lists, you can select only certain types of businesses, sizes of businesses, designation by job title, or lists with people's names and titles on them. You can find the standard rate and data service directories at the main library in your area. The library's copy may be a little out of date, but for educational purposes, that's okay. Now, I'm just going to randomly select a couple SRDS listings and go through them with you to bring about an even better understanding. Under Business Executives, the Kiplinger Washington Letter lists are available. This is a tax, business, and political newsletter. Let's see what the listing tells us. Number 1, the average unit of sale is $48. 2, the list source is direct mail. That means all the subscribers were gotten through direct mail, as opposed to, say, advertisements in other magazines, or reps selling subscriptions door to door. 3, there are 406,000 subscribers available. 4, there are approximately 10,000 hotline subscribers available each month. 5, the list costs $85 to $95 per 1,000 names. Expired subscribers are available for just $40 a 1,000. So if you have a broker, you can now call that list broker, or you can call the broker handling this list, which happens to be the Clyde Company, to get additional information for your regional or local marketing. For example, you might want to know how many subscribers there are in Indiana or in Indianapolis, Indiana. Who might use this list? Banks, stockbrokers, insurance agents, realtors, seminar marketers. If you'll take the time to page through the entire SRDS directory, you'll be amazed at how many lists you'll discover that contain people who are logical prospects for your business, goods, or services. Let me tell you how to get super sophisticated with this. Let's say you sell fairly complex, expensive real estate limited partnerships. You need people in high tax brackets with good credit and some knowledge and experience as investors. You might take the Kiplinger list we just discussed, plus 2 or 3 other financial newsletter subscription lists, and have them merge-purged to find only those people in your area who subscribe to at least 2 of them. Then you might have that list merged with a list of credit card holders. On a local basis, this is going to be costly because you are dealing with so few names. In this example, in a city like Phoenix, you might only wind up with 1,000 names, and they might cost you several dollars each. But you will have highly qualified prospects. One way to overcome the cost problem, if you own a small local business, is to make contact with the owners of similar businesses in other geographic areas and go together as a group on a list rental project. Basic lists without a lot of merge-purge work can be rented for as low as $30, $35 per 1,000 names. That fee is for one-time use only, and that's important. Most lists include some plants, people who are listed there and are paid to report on the mail they receive. Their name may be on a list in a certain way, so that any mail they get addressed that way indicates that the list was used. Copying and using rented lists more than once is dangerous. You can be prosecuted, fined, even imprisoned. Lists are available in many different formats: computer printouts, self-adhesive labels, even on magnetic tape if you're computerized. If you test more than one list with the same promotion, you'll want to code your mailings and track the response so you can make better list selection decisions in the future. You can code by creating fictitious suite numbers or telephone extension numbers, inserting different colored coupons correlated to different lists, or assigning code numbers that must be given to obtain the discount or the gift offered. For a small extra charge, your code can be imprinted right on the mailing label too. This is particularly useful if you are using a window envelope with the label on an inside piece that will later be redeemed as a coupon. If you're renting from a large database to do a test, you can and should get an nth name sort. Say you're renting 5,000 names from a list of 25,000. You might then get every fifth name. Then if the promotion is successful, you can rent the remainder of the list, less those you've already mailed to. In other words, omitting every fifth name. If you are using mailing lists only for one local area, you may want to talk with the mailing list sources listed in your own local yellow pages. It may be more convenient for you to deal with a local supplier. You may feel more comfortable meeting with someone face-to-face. However, if the local source cannot give you exactly what you want, one of the big national houses certainly can. Let's run through one more example. American List Council has a list of high-income residents at their home addresses. The list has been compiled from census information, phone books, car registrations, and other sources. There are 9 million people in the $50,000 to $75,000 income range. We can select by state, length of residency, and get phone numbers. If I were running a redecorating company, I might be interested in this list. I'd want those in my state in that high income range who had been in the same home for 5 or more years, and I would want their phone numbers for phone follow-up to my mailing. If I were going to try and merge-purge that with something, I might try subscribers to Architectural Digest or Better Homes and Gardens magazine and take only those names who subscribe to at least one of them. Obviously, the smaller your business's market area, the more difficult it is to cost-effectively access and use these national databases, but it can be done. If you want to get a real competitive advantage and be able to target market to highly qualified prospects, Standard Rate and Data Service is the place to begin.
You've been listening to one of our Gold Members Only podcasts. Make sure you upgrade and become a Diamond member and get access to the Diamond Members Only podcast as well. On top of that, you'll also get access to the whole enchilada with all of Dan's courses and so much more. So make sure you upgrade to Diamond now by going to diamondupgrade.com. You are listening to the Magnetic Marketing Secret Gold Members Only podcast.
Welcome to Dan Kennedy's Midas Touch Marketing, and Dan Kennedy definitely does have the Midas Touch with marketing. In fact, Entrepreneur Magazine says Dan has at least 101 money-making ideas for any business owner. You'll find more than that in these Midas Touch audio cassettes. Of course, not all the strategies and suggestions in these cassettes will apply perfectly to your particular business or sales career. It is Mr. Kennedy's intention that you will pick and choose, much like walking through a cafeteria line. You will find more than enough to apply directly, immediately, and profitably. Beyond that direct application, Mr. Kennedy also hopes that these sessions will heighten your tendency to think marketing, so that you too get the Midas touch.
On this tape, we're going to talk about one of the most exciting marketing strategies of all, stimulating word-of-mouth advertising. Word-of-mouth advertising is the most powerful, effective type of advertising there is, but it's the only kind you can't just buy by the page or by the minute. It has to be created, stimulated, and nurtured with truly creative techniques. Most businesses take whatever word-of-mouth advertising they get, but I'm here to tell you that you can exert a considerable degree of control over this type of advertising and marketing. The reason that word-of-mouth advertising is so valuable is simple. Nothing you can ever say about you, no matter how well you say it, can have as much impact and credibility as something a disinterested third party says about you. Also, there are some things you simply can't say graciously about yourself that others can say. Artificial word-of-mouth advertising is still the most effective form of TV commercial. It's called Slice of Life, and you're very familiar with it. It shows a scene with one ordinary person telling a friend or associate how good a product is. Laundry soap, personal computers, and hundreds of other products and services are still sold this way. Far better, though, is real word-of-mouth advertising, and there is a single basic secret to stimulating a high rate of word-of-mouth advertising. The secret comes from the Disney companies, where it is taught as find ways to do what you do so well and so uniquely that your customers cannot resist telling lots of other people about you. At the Disney parks, this principle is implemented in the forms of cleanliness and authenticity. When first-time visitors to Disneyland and Disney World are surveyed and asked what sticks in their mind most about their visit, the overwhelming number one answer is the cleanliness of the parks. The number two answer is the authenticity of the environments. Disney marketing pros then understand how this translates into real life. Harry and Marge go back to Dubuque and tell their friends, "You can't believe how clean the parks were." Then 4 more families from Dubuque pile money into motorhomes and bring the money to the mouse. Because they understand this, the Disney people think of park cleanliness as marketing, not just maintenance. They use this to stimulate referrals. Any business can also find ways to stimulate referrals, to stimulate word-of-mouth advertising, often by doing things that should be done anyway. In a retail-type business, excellence and creativity in the store environment and in customer service are most likely to stimulate referrals. I know a dentist, for example, who 10 times his practice in just 24 months without increasing his external ad budget by even $1. He identified 700 different things to change in the office environment and in patient communications, and those changes were responsible for developing a very high level of word-of-mouth advertising. Now, this brings up a vitally important theme that should be behind all your marketing efforts. Little things mean a lot. Think of it this way. If you throw one little metal BB at a window, you probably won't shatter the glass. But if you solder a couple hundred of those little BBs together into a ball, that'll shatter the window. When working to build and improve a business, don't waste a lot of time looking for the one big magic marketing strategy that will make all the difference in the world. Instead, find a lot of little things that can be improved. Added together, little things have big impact. Another way to stimulate referrals, if you have direct contact with your customers, is by staging events where loyal customers can and are motivated to bring their friends to you. A nightclub has an annual anniversary party with huge tents in the parking lot, free food, and free entertainment, closed to the public, but open to their customers and guests invited by the customers. A chiropractor I know hosts a big Christmas party each year with a buffet and a dance band, open to all of his patients and any family members or friends they wish to bring. Another doctor uses the same idea with a July barbecue held in his own big backyard each year. Still another way to stimulate referrals is to simply ask for them. Many business owners and executives, professionals, and even salespeople have all sorts of mental hang-ups about asking for referrals. However, most of those hang-ups are invalid, and I find that those who ask get. Now here's a secret about customers or clients who refer that can be worth a great deal of money to you. Understand that the person who refers once can and will refer many more people many more times if motivated to do so. Once a customer or client has referred someone to your business, then that source of referrals should be worked like the gold mine that it is. You should know that massive research by major to-consumer direct sales companies and organizations indicates that the average person has an immediate circle of influence of 52 other people. The typical executive, for example, knows about 50 other people at a similar executive level in his own or closely related industries. This number tells you that each customer or client who comes through your business could bring you as many as 50 other customers or clients. You should also know that research by the American Management Association indicates that the average satisfied customer only tells 3 other people about the satisfactory experience. Moving that person from telling 3 to telling 50 does require some definite action on your part. That action needs to focus on the giving of recognition and appreciation. When a satisfied customer sends someone to you, the sender should immediately receive some recognition and appreciation, possibly a quick thank you note or telephone call at bare minimum. That should happen right away. Subsequently, some type of thank you gift is usually appropriate and effective. We send steaks, books, clocks, calculators, small electronic items, knife sets, all sorts of things. I recommend gifts that you do not ordinarily sell, and a different gift each time the person refers. You will really be amazed at the positive results from this kind of action. You'd also be surprised, incidentally, at the negative results of not doing this. The client who refers once and fails to get recognition and appreciation will probably never say anything to you, but to himself, and often to a friend or associate, he does say, "Can you believe it? I sent that guy a customer and never got so much as a thank you." And then he never refers again. Again, it's interesting to note that a basic success principle, often discussed in personal development context, is also a marketing strategy. It's called the attitude of gratitude. If you want to even more directly stimulate referrals from your customers or clients, you might want to consider the second-party gift certificate idea. Here's how this works. You're a satisfied regular customer of a clothing store. The owner of the store says to you, "John, as you know, most of our customers come as referrals from other customers, and we appreciate that and try to encourage it. This month, we're doing something interesting that you might want to help us with and be able to do a favor for your friends, too." The store owner then gives you a $10 gift certificate, negotiable only by a second party that you, the customer, address it to and sign it over to. This idea works extremely well for just about any kind of retail business, service business, home products business, restaurants, stores, beauty parlors, carpet cleaning companies, and so on. If you use this idea, you'll again want to follow it up with recognition and appreciation to the customer who does pass along a coupon that is ultimately redeemed by a new customer. A variation of word-of-mouth advertising is what I call testimonial marketing. The best way to explain it is with some examples. The best automobile salesman I've ever met is Bill Glazner with Sanderson Ford right here in Phoenix. This fella is a true professional in every sense of the word. He's knowledgeable, competent, a skilled listener, is able to exert pressure without being offensive, and has many other great sales skills. But his most impressive attribute is mastery of testimonial marketing. When you go in and sit down in his office, you'll find a typical car salesman's cubicle, a little desk, a couple side chairs, a rather tacky tile floor, just what you'd expect. But the walls in Bill's office are covered, top to bottom, side to side, with instant snapshots of Bill's customers standing next to their new cars. Each snapshot shows the happy customer next to or in front of his or her new automobile. As you look at the hundreds of these photos on his walls, you can't help but notice 2 things. First, you'll probably see someone you know or know of. Second, the photos are dated, and you'll see some customers displayed several different times, years apart, pictured next to their new 1960 car, then again next to their new 1965 car, again next to their new 1970 car, and again next to their new 1980 car. These pictures are worth thousands of words. The inevitable reactions are, all these people can't be wrong, and these people wouldn't keep coming back if they weren't being treated well. I've seen this same idea taught and demonstrated by Ira Hayes, former top cash register salesman for NCR, and today a superb motivational speaker. Ira carried huge fold-out sheets of pictures of happy customers next to their new cash registers when he made a sales call on a store owner. I've also taught this to thousands of doctors, and know that those who use it get great results. In their waiting rooms, you'll find giant scrapbooks filled with photos of their happy, healthy patients. Self-made multimillionaire W. Clement Stone used this exact tactic to build a huge insurance sales organization from scratch beginning in the Great Economic Depression. His reps then, and still today, enter a business and start selling by flipping through page after page after page of lists of other area business people who bought their insurance programs. In my business, speaking and consulting, testimonial letters and comments from satisfied clients are the most valuable selling tools possible. You need to carefully consider how you can collect testimonial-type evidence of customer satisfaction, and then use that evidence to attract and motivate other customers. There are two specific applications of this idea I'd suggest you think about. Number one, geographic target marketing, and number two, customer category target marketing. Let's use a print shop as an example of both types of testimonial marketing. Our print shop happens to have two architect firms as loyal, regular, satisfied customers. Here would be the astute extension marketing strategy. Prepare a mailing to all the other architect firms in the area, showing and telling that we have these architects as satisfied customers. The mailing might include pictures of those architects, comments from them, and a list of the types of work being done for them. That would be target marketing by customer type. One architect leads to another. My associate, Joel Beck, teaches salespeople about this process and about referrals with this analogy. How do ducks go to water? One behind the other. Now let's say our print shop also has several loyal, regular, satisfied customers with stores and offices in the same complex, say the 5th Street Center. An astute marketing strategy would be to contact all the other tenants of the 5th Street Center and show and tell about the satisfied customers that we have there. Your prospective customers and clients can best judge you and can be motivated to judge you by the customers you already have. Most businesses use this third-party influence factor far less and far less effectively than they could and should. I urge you to constantly look for ways that you can utilize the influence of your present customers to attract additional customers. An extension of this to personal selling, by the way, is that stories sell, facts only tell. If you are involved in person-to-person or group selling situations, you'll improve your closing effectiveness by telling more third-party stories. Which is more effective? My telling you that 4,617 businesses have purchased this program, which is a fact, or telling you a true story about Bob Smith in Boston, who is in the same business as you are, who bought this program and doubled his business in 90 days by implementing the word-of-mouth advertising system. Most people will be moved more by the story than the fact. Stories sell, facts tell. This is just one more argument, incidentally, in favor of valuing your customer and staying close to the customer. By knowing your customers, you gain stories and testimonials that are useful in selling successfully to others. Stimulating word-of-mouth advertising, stimulating referrals, and using testimonials effectively are exciting and effective marketing strategies. In most cases, you have opportunities to use these strategies with very small cost compared to most other marketing methods. I personally know of many businesses in many different fields that have effected dynamic, dramatic increases in sales using these strategies. One of the big dangers in attracting new business is spending so much in the pursuit that you win the game and still lose money. What I call lazy passive advertising and marketing, like renting billboards and running ads, is expensive. It's important to balance the necessary but expensive advertising you do with much lower cost active marketing using these strategies. There is even one more virtue to attracting new business from referrals and the use of testimonials. The referred customer is most likely to become a source of more referrals. He got there as a result of a referral, so he's already been conditioned to refer. The client who is motivated to do business with you as a result of others' testimonials is most likely to give you a testimonial letter or comment you can use. The more you use these strategies, the more profitable your business will be. I am not a great fan of the United States Postal Service. Overall, there's no doubt in my mind that it is a poorly managed, inefficient, financially troubled operation, sadly in need of reform. But in spite of all its faults, that system gives you a powerful and effective sales force at a bargain price. Using the postman as your salesman via direct mail advertising is a great bargain and one of the most effective marketing strategies available to most businesses. Direct mail gives the marketer tremendous control over the sales process. You can do direct mail marketing cost effectively in relatively small quantities. You control who gets your advertising and who does not. You can control to a great degree when they get it. You can test and evaluate a promotion very inexpensively before committing a big budget. There really is no other media that gives you all of these advantages for the delivery price of a postage stamp. There have been many studies done to determine the average cost of sending a rep out to make a personal sales call, getting an ordinary business letter done and out of an office, or making a telemarketing call. My observation is that the bigger the company, the higher the cost. But even in well-run, cost-efficient situations, these marketing methods can easily cost from $10 to $100 or more per prospect contacted. At that cost, they are not the way to prospect for new business. Advertising in newspapers and magazines, radio, TV, and cable TV also has a cost factor problem, mammoth waste. When you buy this type of advertising, you're paying for distribution outside your market area, copies that never reach readers, and circulation that has no possible interest in what you have to offer. Most businesses can benefit tremendously from the more controlled, targeted process of direct mail advertising. On this side of this cassette, I want to give you some insight into the 3 aspects of success in direct mail advertising and introduce you to the 2 most common, most successful formats you can use in direct mail advertising. The first of 3 stepping stones to a successful direct mail campaign is acquisition or development of the right list. Since the main virtue of direct mail is targeting to specific prospects, it makes sense that the selection of those prospects will have a great deal to do with the success of the whole process. Most experts agree that list selection has a 30% to 50% impact on the overall effectiveness of direct mail. In selecting a mailing list, you want to target people most likely to have an existent interest in what you have to offer, as well as some things in common with your present good customers. These commonalities might be found in age, sex, occupation, income level, neighborhood or geographic area, credit card ownership, family size, magazines subscribed to, or any number of other demographics. These factors are called demographics, and the professional sources you might rent mailing lists from can be incredibly sophisticated in finding or compiling a mailing list of people who conform to your set of desired demographics. In business-to-business marketing, the same sophistication is available. List of companies can be obtained by size, sales volume, asset value, number of employees, type of business, geographic area, magazines subscribed to, credit rating, and other factors. Lists of executives, owners, sales managers, personnel managers, purchasing agents, stockholders, or secretaries are also readily available. List selection can be as simple or sophisticated as you need or want to make it. The owner of an upper-class restaurant might want to obtain a mailing list of homeowners within a 50-mile radius of his restaurant who have at least one bank credit card. A private aircraft manufacturer might want a list of corporate officers and business owners with net worths in excess of $500,000 all across the country. As a rule, the more demographic factors you can use in controlling the list, the costlier the list. To a great degree, extra money spent in narrowing down the list to fit your desired factors is money well spent. To find mailing lists, you can locate list brokers and sources in your own area by looking in the yellow pages under such categories as mailing lists, mailing services, and advertising consultants. There are also many national sources. For a thorough education in the kind of services and lists available, go to the main public library in your area and review a copy of a directory called SRDS, Standard Rate and Data Service. Also, a good trade magazine to look at is Direct Marketing. We also have a preferred list supplier that we use frequently, Best Mailing Lists in New York City. You can call them toll-free by dialing 1-800-NYC-BEST. Small business people should also compile their own mailing lists. For one thing, you should maintain an up-to-date mailing list of all your customers and clients. Direct mail to this list can stimulate additional business, introduce new products and services, or promote sales or special offers. You can also build prospect lists of your own many different ways. If people call your business for information, your staff should be trained to get the caller's name and address for the mailing list. If you exhibit at trade or consumer shows, you might use a free prize drawing or some similar method to obtain all the show attendees' names and addresses. You can also compile your own lists from telephone directories, Chamber of Commerce directories, association directories, and other similar sources. The list or lists selection is the starting point of the direct mail marketing process. Then second comes the development of a matching offer. The offer you make in a direct mail package needs to be carefully thought out and matched as closely as possible to the interests, needs, and motivations of the list. And as a general rule of thumb, the more specifically matched the offer and list are, the higher the response rate. Here are 2 simple examples to help you understand this idea. Example 1. John's Sporting Goods store mails a brochure about his upcoming sale on skiing and hiking equipment to every resident in his store's neighborhood. His offer may be great, 25% to 50% discounts, a free gift for everyone who comes in, but his response will still probably be very low because of a high waste factor in his mailing. Let's say John mailed 10,000 brochures. As few as 15 to 25 people may come in, a response rate of only 0.5% or slightly worse. But that's deceptive because of the waste factor. Of the 10,000 residents mailed, only 1,000 of them may be interested in skiing or hiking. If that's true and 15 people come in, that may represent 1.5% response rate, which is usually acceptable. Example 2. John's sporting goods store mails the exact same offer as in example 1, but he only mails 1,000 brochures to a list of people in his store's neighborhood who are subscribers to skiing or hiking or Field and Stream magazine. In example 2, John's list acquisition cost will be much higher than in example 1. In example 1, the resident list may cost only $35 to $40 per thousand names, $350 to $400 for the 10,000 names. In example 2, the list may cost $150 or even $200 for just the 1,000 names. And in example 2, the cost of printing the brochures will go up dramatically per unit. In example 1, the 10,000 brochures may cost only a nickel each, $500 total. In example 2, the 1,000 brochures may cost 20 cents each, $200 total. However, in example 2, John saves almost $2,000 in postage by culling the waste factor out of his mailing. Overall, he spends about $2,500 less with the sophisticated approach in example 2 and gets the same results as he would with the costlier, less sophisticated example 1. Most small businesses and many big businesses waste substantial sums of money by taking the less sophisticated, easier approach. If the typical small business, like John's Sporting Goods Store, conducts just 4 direct mail campaigns a year, and there's a $2,500 differential available each time, that's $10,000 a year that can be wasted or saved. $10,000 is a lot of money to a small business. Part of the magic of the sophisticated approach is the list-to-offer match. But to be successful, you must also develop a very good, attractive offer. Here are the ingredients that can be used in most offers. Number 1, something new, new products, new services, new prices. Number 2, a sale or specially discounted prices. Number 3, a bonus or premium for purchasing or even just for coming in. Number 4, a gift for responding. Number 5, a time limit on the offer to stimulate prompt response. And the best offer includes all 5 of these ingredients. The third stepping stone to direct mail success is the mailing piece itself. 1 is the list, 2 is the offer. Now 3 is what we might call the packaging, or the presentation of the offer. In mailing development, you will basically deal with copy, graphics, and format. I want you to understand that it is not necessary, or even necessarily advisable, for you to engage the expensive services of graphic designers or ad agencies to create your direct mail pieces. If you will make the format decision yourself, write the copy yourself, and provide some graphic components yourself, all of which I'll help you with during the next few minutes, then you can have your piece prepared by a small storefront printer and his typesetter. An ad agency or graphic designer may charge you several hundred to $1,000 just to design a simple direct mail piece. Most small and medium-sized businesses do not need to incur such costs. Let's talk first about format. There are 2 commonly used formats that will serve most of your needs. One is called the solo piece. This is a single sheet printed on both sides and half-folded or folded in thirds to self-mail without an envelope. This is the most commonly used format by small business and the least expensive. If you watch your own incoming mail a little more closely for the next few days, you'll receive several such mail pieces and can get an idea of the different things that can be done within the solo format. Another solo format that is even simpler and less costly is a postcard or oversized postcard. This can be a very cost-effective way of communicating with your established customer list. The other format is a more complex, sophisticated, multiple-piece mailing in an envelope. This is the kind used by Publishers Clearinghouse and the Reader's Digest sweepstakes, as well as many other direct mail marketers. Again, watch your incoming mail for the next few days, and you'll be able to collect some samples of this type of piece. Usually, this package is made up of, number 1, a cover letter. Number 2, a brochure or flyer presenting the main offer. Number 3, a separate response device, a coupon to bring into the store, or an order form to mail back. And number 4, some extra sales piece, possibly a page of testimonials from satisfied customers or a flyer on the premium or bonus gift. The theory behind this type of mailing is that the odds of something catching the reader's interest are increased proportionately by the number of loose pieces. Your choice of formats can be governed by how much space you need to tell your story, cost and budget factors, who you're mailing to, and the dollar value of the response. You then have to write the copy that will present your offer and tell your story. I've written all of my own advertising copy since the 1970s and have never had any formal education in advertising. I'm self-taught through studying the many excellent how-to books readily available and through practice. This is a very valuable skill, and I urge most business people and entrepreneurs to develop the ability to write good advertising copy. There are 2 main reasons for this. First, it's very costly to have your advertising materials written by a good professional copywriter or consultant. To write the copy for a multi-piece direct mail package for a client, I charge between $3,000 and $5,000, and my fees are typically lower than most other well-qualified consultants in this field. Second, no matter how much you pay to get the very best outside help, no one can ever have the same feel for your business and your clientele that you do. On the other side of this cassette, we'll go through some specific ideas and guidelines that will help you write effective advertising copy. Format, copy, and graphic components. A graphic component can be a cartoon, a drawing, a photograph, a border, a keyword, and a dramatic typeface. Most needs for such things can be filled very inexpensively with what is commonly called clip art in the advertising business. You can buy books of copyright-free clip art in art supply stores and by mail from several different companies. An expenditure of $10 or $20 will get you hundreds of pieces of usable art. You can also build your own collection of clip art over a period of time by cutting clean black and white artwork out of magazines, catalogs, and other companies' advertising that you receive, and filing it by category. As long as the art does not have a registered or copyright indicia next to it, you're free to take it and use it. Setting up such files and making this a habit can save you a great deal of money over the years. There's one last tip I want to give you about using direct mail to promote your business. A real secret to direct mail success is repetition. When you are selecting or compiling a list of prospective customers to mail to, you should think in terms of mailing offers and information to that same list 3 to 5 times during a 12-month period, not just once. Properly used, direct mail can be one of the most effective and cost-efficient marketing strategies you'll ever find for your business. Let's talk about the basics of effective in-print advertising and writing effective advertising copy. The first critically important key is the development of effective headlines. The headline is the most important component part of any type of in-print advertising. It must work, or nothing else matters. Next in importance are the subheads that are used to break up long blocks of copy. Next are photo captions. Photo captions are marvelous opportunities to make persuasive arguments. People are drawn to pictures and often read the captions beneath the pictures before reading just about anything else. The same basic guidelines apply to headlines, subheads, and photo captions. First, the headline should promise a positive benefit or ask a provocative question, or both. Second, it should telegraph its message in 12 words or less. Third, it should stand alone. That means it should make a complete statement by itself. I'll give you a great example to compare all of your headlines to that comes from the National Enquirer. This is a headline of a small mail order ad that has been running continuously in the Enquirer since before I was alive, a great indication that it works. Here's the headline: "Corn's gone in 5 days or money back." This is a great headline. In just 8 words, it clearly promises a benefit: corn's gone. It strengthens the promised benefit with a specific time frame, in 5 days, and it further strengthens the benefit with a guarantee, or money back. Your headlines, subheads, and photo captions need to be equally strong. If your headline does its job, it will grab the attention of the reader and motivate him to read more of your offer. The headline will bring the reader into the copy. Now, here are 14 tips to make sure that your advertising copy works. Number 1, translate features into benefits. Don't just give information and assume that the reader will interpret. Example: front-wheel drive is a product feature on an automobile. In advertising that car, it would be a great mistake just to say that and assume that the reader knows why front-wheel drive is a desirable feature. The advertising has to go on to explain the benefits of front-wheel drive: safety, improved cornering, improved braking, better mileage, and so on. Number 2, write from the you perspective, not the I, we perspective. Say, you will benefit greatly from the extraordinary durability. Don't say, we build the most durable. Number 3, communicate credibility. Credibility can be demonstrated with length of time in business, the size of your company, the number of customers served, testimonials from satisfied customers, your membership in influential associations, guarantees and warranties, and all of these things combined. Number 4, you can use dramatic license. You should not deceive or misrepresent anything, but you can dramatize it. Here's an example you're familiar with. Remington's president says in the commercials, "I like this Remington shaver so much that I bought the company." Well, that's silly. That man is a shrewd, astute, experienced business person. And I assure you that his acquisition of Remington was based on careful analysis of many different factors, only including the quality of the product. But his statement is at least partly true and is a dramatic way of talking about product quality. That's dramatic license. Number 5, remember that stories sell, facts only tell. Whenever you can use first-person stories, third-party stories about customers, and anecdotes to make key selling points, do so. Stories sell, facts only tell. Number 6, don't be afraid of long copy. Ad copy should be long enough to tell your story effectively and persuasively. Number 7, utilize the writing technique of double readership path. This is really quite simple, but extremely important. The idea is to understand and reach both ends of the spectrum of consumer behavior, analytical behavior versus impulsive behavior. The analytical person will read lengthy copy and is interested in as much information as possible. The impulsive individual lacks the patience to read lots of copy and wants to get the message quickly. When you organize your copy and format, you should communicate the important points of your message in only the headlines, subheads, photo captions, and response device, so the impulsive person can quickly skim, still get the message, and take positive action. Number 8, keep your copy lean, not necessarily short. Watch out for wordiness that distracts from the sales message. If a word or phrase does not advance the sales process, why is it there? Most copywriters like to edit their rough drafts after a day or two cooling off period. You may want to use this same approach. Number 9, keep your sentences and paragraphs short. Complex sentence structure or long paragraphs are intimidating and confusing to many people. Don't make the common mistake of overestimating the intelligence and sophistication of your readers. Number 10, you must create a sense of urgency. This can be done with discounts or bonus offers that expire within a certain time period, or with extra incentives for fast response. Number 11, it's okay to compare apples to oranges. Example, this cassette program costs only $79. You might easily pay $300, $400, or even $500 to obtain the same information by attending a seminar. And $79 is such a small sum, you might spend that much or more on a nice dinner for you and your wife in a fancy restaurant. Number 12, internal repetition is an important and beneficial technique. In a given direct mail piece, it's wise to make the same several main points several different times, several different ways. Number 13, use the power of the PS. Most direct mail copywriting pros agree that many people skip down to the PS on a letter and read that first. You can use this to your advantage two ways. 1, be sure that your letter has a PS. And 2, make a powerful, interesting, persuasive statement in the PS. This is a good place to present the bonus offer, for example. And number 14, become a student of advertising copy. Study all the direct mail advertising that you receive carefully and collect those pieces that you find particularly persuasive. Over a period of time, you'll begin identifying common ingredients in those pieces that you can copy in your own work. Headlines, subheads, and photo captions, the critical attention-getting and interest-building components of in-print advertising, supported by good, effective copy. That's 2/3 of the success formula. The third part is the call to action in the form of a response device. In person-to-person professional selling, one of the most common failings in salespeople is the fear of closing the sale, the reluctance to ask for the order. Master sales trainer Zig Ziglar says that asking for the order is what separates the poorly paid professional visitor from the kingly compensated professional salesperson. Just as closing the sale is a vital skill in face-to-face marketing, asking for the desired action clearly is a vital skill in advertising. Incidentally, experience in effectively closing sales in person is a valuable asset in creating effective advertising. The same techniques, words, phrases, and ideas used in personal selling can be used in print selling. A strong, direct call to action in direct mail is vital. Tell the reader exactly what you want them to do, how to do it, and when to do it. If response to your offer is in any way complicated, you may want to number the instructions, 1, 2, 3. The call to action may appear in several places in the typical direct mail package, such as the letter, the main brochure, and most importantly, in the response device. A response device is the coupon to be redeemed, the order form, or the reply card. Whatever your response device is, it should restate the basic offer and bonus and present the call to action. You can learn to use these techniques to develop effective direct mail marketing materials for your businesses, products, and services. On this cassette, I'll run through a little checklist of consistently successful marketing strategies that apply to virtually any business. These 7 strategies can help you stimulate new business, increase business from existing customers, and build repeat business. You may not be able to use all of them in your business, but you can certainly use some of them. 1 is a system of frequent buyer rewards. Today, all major airlines and many hotel chains are using this technique to capture repeat business from their clientele. Here in Phoenix, the Wise Guys car washers use this same idea. They issue each customer a little plastic punch card. After the customer pays for a certain number of washes recorded on the card, he can then redeem the card for a free wash. The idea of the frequent buyer type incentive is to encourage the customer to return to your business rather than spreading his business around. In order to make this type of incentive even more effective, you can tie it to an expiration date so that the points have to be accumulated and redeemed within a certain time period. Number 2, discounting is probably the most commonly used marketing strategy in business. Just about every business in America uses discounts at various times in various ways. One word of caution about discounting: if it's overused, it loses its effectiveness. The retail furniture industry, for example, is finding that special this weekend only sale type advertising is losing its effectiveness the more they use it. Also, artificial discounting is very dangerous in the long run. The American automobile industry did itself great, apparently permanent damage with artificial discounting, so that today everybody knows that the sticker price on a car is meaningless and every price is negotiable. It's important to have a logical reason tied to a discount opportunity. Otherwise, you are essentially admitting that your regular prices are excessive. Inventory overstock, an anniversary, a holiday celebration, an introductory offer for new customers, a special offer on a new product or service, these are all examples of logical, acceptable reasons for discounts. 3, the use of premiums. A premium offer essentially says, buy this, get this free. This is an extremely effective marketing strategy suitable for many different types of businesses. One of the most interesting uses of premiums that I've seen develop as a trend in recent years is the use of premiums attractive to individuals tied to business products and services, such as a free color TV or VCR with the purchase of a certain amount of office supplies. In effect, this type of offer lets the business customer spend tax-deductible business dollars for supplies and receive free and tax-free a gift he will use personally in his home. 4, packaging of different products or services together. This is a marketing strategy usually used to increase the average purchase size in a business. 5 is the sale of prepay agreements. You're familiar with this in the health spa and exercise salon business. You pay, say, $395 for a membership that entitles you to use the facilities X number of times or for X length of time, rather than paying as you go per visit. The same idea is applicable to many different businesses, and it even presents an interesting opportunity for the small business person to raise operating capital. With this technique, operating capital can actually be raised from customers by collecting in advance for future business. Let's take a restaurant, for example. The restaurant owner could sell a membership card good for 25 dinners, anything on the menu, for $249. If purchased onesie-twosie, the average dinner might be $11.95 or $12.95, costing the customer over $300. So by purchasing the card in advance, the customer saves about $50, can just sign his check and not have to pay as he goes, and maybe guaranteed reservations with short notice or get some other perk as well. The restaurant owner who sells 50 of these memberships collects over $12,000 in a hurry. 6. The acceptance of major credit cards. Every business should accept MasterCard, Visa, American Express, Diners Club, and now the new Discovery card. Of course, retail stores and restaurants almost always honor these cards, but just about any business can. I've taught doctors, lawyers, hairstylists, and other professionals to accept these cards and use them to increase their business, implement price increases with less client resistance, and reduce collection problems. This is really a simple thought process. The easier you make it for the customer to buy, and the more payment options you offer the customer, the better. 7. Regular mailings to past and present customers or clients. I think the single most effective marketing strategy that any business can use to build customer loyalty, to retain customers, and to stimulate more frequent purchasing by customers is the publication and distribution of a monthly newsletter. This is an extremely powerful, cost-effective marketing method. When you keep in touch with your clientele with your own newsletter, you do all of these valuable things. Number 1, you create a habit on the part of your customers. They expect to receive your newsletter, and they get in the habit of reading it. Number 2, you stay on the top of the consciousness in your customer's mind. Number 3, you can pass along useful information and ideas that your customers appreciate. Number 4, you can continue to demonstrate your expertise in your field. Number 5, you can stimulate word-of-mouth advertising. And number 6, you can advertise sales, special offers, new products, new services, new locations, and so on in your own publication. Accountants, attorneys, dentists, chiropractors, medical doctors, these professionals have learned how effective this idea is, and many of these professionals put out their own newsletters on a regular basis. But this exact same idea could be used by many different types of businesses. The beauty parlor could put out a newsletter on skincare, beauty, and fashion tips. The restaurant could put out a newsletter on local entertainment, recipes, and shopping tips. The office equipment company could put out a newsletter on management and efficiency tips. These 7 simple marketing strategies can be creatively used many different ways. You might want to use them as sort of an idea stimulant checklist for regularly scheduled brainstorming sessions with your associates. Many businesses benefit from a regularly scheduled, once-a-month brainstorming and planning session to develop new marketing strategies for the coming month. This is an extension of an important business success idea, the mastermind group. If you are unfamiliar with this idea, you should consult the classic success book by Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. You may be able to use several of these strategies at one time in a given business. I believe it's best to use these strategies in the development of short-term promotional campaigns. When you frequently introduce new, different promotions and special offers, you keep the attention and interest of your customers, and you keep your own interest in your business high. You may also want to schedule certain promotional campaigns to immediately precede and coincide with seasonal slumps that occur in your business. More often than not, the reason business is slow at a particular time of year is mostly due to management's acceptance of it being slow. Confucius said, "Dig the well before you thirst." You can usually head off an oncoming slump with effective promotion and marketing strategies. Another excellent source of more promotion ideas is the book, How to Get Big Results from a Small Advertising Budget by Cynthia Smith, available in paperback in most bookstores. I also edit and publish a newsletter, the Marketing Ideas Letter, designed to bring business owners and advertising agencies and consultants a fresh supply of good marketing and promotion ideas all year long. Most businesses have unfulfilled potential to do more business more frequently with existing customers, and this can be a tremendous source of increased profitability. Hopefully, these ideas will help you tap that potential. Salespeople. If you employ salespeople, or will in the future, you've got sales management problems. Although I can't even begin to provide a full analysis of the solutions to sales management problems in a single cassette, there are several fundamental important things we can discuss that will help you have more productive relationships with your salespeople, your distributors, or your franchisees. First, you should remember that salespeople are people. There are any number of problems that they can have at various times that will negatively affect their performance and productivity. Fears and insecurities, laziness, depression, personal and family problems, financial problems, health problems, automobile problems, all these things become factors affecting your business when you market through salespeople. This is probably one of the reasons for the validity of the 80-20 principle in sales organizations. This principle says that 80% of the sales come from 20% of the reps, and 80% of the problems come from 20% of the reps. As long as it's not the same 20%, you're in good shape, and it rarely is. In managing salespeople, you'll actually be dealing with three distinctly different situations. 1, coaching the willing salesperson to peak performance. 2, trying to motivate the mediocre performer. And 3, frequently cutting out and replacing the poor performers. Let's take the poor performer first. Most managers spend way too much time on the poor performer and too little time with their high performers. And most managers postpone cutting the inadequate performer much longer than they should. Once an individual has demonstrated his unwillingness or inability to perform effectively in your business, you do no one any favors by letting him hang on. In fact, firing this person is the best thing you can do for him. He'll probably be more relieved than anything else and will now be freed to find an employment situation that is somehow better matched to his personality. It's also the best thing you can do for your own sanity as well as for the organization. A firing now and then in an organization is a vivid reminder that unsatisfactory performance will not be tolerated. I have a poster hidden in one of my offices that says, "You should never try to teach a pig to sing. It only annoys the pig, and you get covered with mud in the attempt." The point is that there are some people burdened with such a combination of negative attitudes and experiences that turning them into winners is much more trouble than it's worth. A lot of the manager's time is consumed by the mediocre performers, those doing just enough to give you hope, but not enough to warrant celebration. And then there are the high performers, producing about 80% of the positive results, who are mostly ignored by management. However, if you're looking for a prompt increase in sales, a good way to get it is to divert some attention from the mediocre group to the high performance group. It's much easier to coach a successful person to even better performance than to get a mediocre performer to begin succeeding. The bottom line, though, is that the only real motivation is self-motivation. You cannot take control of someone else's thinking, motivate them, and keep them motivated purely through your external influence. The motivation that helps a sales professional achieve peak performance comes mostly from within. As a manager or a business owner, you should concentrate on providing an environment and an opportunity where a person can develop that self-motivation, and a set of good business tools for the motivated performer's use. Accountability is also important. You need to obtain detailed, frequent reporting from your salespeople that you can analyze to identify strengths and weaknesses in their performance, prospects or types of prospects being neglected, customer service problems, and other situations that you can take action to prevent or correct. Management's toughest and most important job is the collection of accurate information about what's actually going on out there on the sales battlefield. Some sales managers like to use special contests and incentive programs to motivate and reward their salespeople. I think the overall results of such programs are disappointing to management more often than not, and believe I've identified one common error in structuring these programs. Many contests and incentives base the winning on end results, sales volume, number of accounts, etc. However, for a contest to serve multiple purposes, to motivate, to teach, to effect behavioral changes in the salespeople, it should focus more on the activities that produce desirable results than on the results themselves. For example, contest points might better be based on the number of complete presentations made to qualified prospects than on the number of new accounts put on the books. One of the best things management can do for most salespeople is to force their analysis and accountability of time use. Most salespeople waste enormous amounts of time and are notoriously poor time managers. I like to see salespeople log and account for the use of their time in 15-minute increments. The result is an honest representation of how much of their time is actually being used to sell, to produce results. Often, even a small improvement in a salesperson's productive time use can result in significant sales increases. Getting salespeople to effectively prospect for new business is often a big problem. Prospecting is hard work. It often involves a lot of refusal and rejection and can be very discouraging. If you can develop a company-managed lead development program to provide salespeople with pre-qualified prospective customer leads, that's the very best marketing strategy you could have. Consider space advertising, direct mail, telemarketing, exhibiting, or a combination of these methods to develop qualified leads for your sales force. But caution, if you do provide leads to salespeople, insist on reporting of results. Most companies would probably be shocked to learn how poor their follow-up on qualified leads actually is. I kept count last year at trade shows, and by mailing in reply cards, I inquired about products or services to over 300 companies. Surprisingly, less than 10% of these firms ever followed up with an in-person or telephone contact. The sad fact is that most companies do a better job of collecting prospects than they do of selling to them. Salespeople who are given prospects must be required to report back on the results obtained. And if you operate a lead collection and distribution program on a large scale, you need some method of randomly checking with the prospects directly to verify that your reps ever contacted them. If you are dispensing leads to independent reps, distributors, or franchisees and cannot legally require accountability, then I advise you to sell, not give the leads, to the marketing people. Marketing through salespeople is necessary in certain businesses and desirable in many others, but it does require a great commitment to supervision and coaching. Now let's review the quick tips for improving the productivity of your sales organization. Number 1, cut the truly poor performers. Don't prolong everybody's agony. 2, coach top performers to do even better if you're looking for the fastest results. Number 3, provide the best possible combination of environment, example, and tools, but recognize that real motivation is self-motivation. You'll drive yourself crazy accepting full responsibility for other people's actions. Number 4, focus on accountability. Accountability always improves performance. Number 5, help each salesperson gain an understanding of how he uses his time and work with him to create some improvement in the amount of time used productively each day. Even small improvements in time use can lead to big improvements in sales. Number 6, consider a company-directed program of obtaining qualified prospects to furnish to your salespeople. Number 7, if you do distribute pre-qualified leads, demand reporting of results. I also caution companies against abdicating too much marketing responsibility to their sales force. I do not believe that it is necessary or advisable to sacrifice direct contact between company and customer in order to market through a sales force. The customer still needs some communication from the company and some opportunity to directly contact the company if dissatisfied in any way with answers, service, or information being provided by the salesperson. You might want to consider such ideas as a company-published newsletter or magazine sent to all customers, a toll-free customer problem hotline number given to customers, and warranty cards or forms filled out and sent in by customers to be certain that you obtain all customer names and addresses. These ideas are especially important for companies that sell at wholesale to independent distributors or franchisees. It's my opinion that regardless of the marketing structure and distribution system that exists between the company and the company must have access to the customers, and the customers must have access to the company. This tape might be called How to Be Your Own Consultant. Many times when I consult with a company, my recommendations are painfully obvious after the fact, but were somehow invisible before my intervention. It's very tough to be objective and analytical about your own business. Very easy to be that way with someone else's, and that's the basis of consulting. However, there are certain suggestions I can make that may enable you to spot some great opportunities in your own business without the aid and expense of an outside independent consultant. Virtually every business has unexploited growth opportunities and unreasonable burdens. Most consultants who get involved with troubled companies find that each company has a product, a division, a type of customer, or a marketing method that is actually costing more than it's worth and should be cut. I find this to be true in most cases. You'll want to carefully analyze your own business and the costs associated with each different aspect of the business very carefully. Often you can apply the 80-20 idea to your business mix. You may discover that 80% of your profits come from 20% of your business, and that 80% of your problems come from 20% of the business. Again, as long as it's not the same 20% in both cases, you're in good shape. The result of this type of analysis is often a comprehensive redesign of the business. It's difficult but advisable to be open-minded enough to do this. Another lesson learned from the turnarounds of troubled companies is that the opportunity for either a product breakthrough or a marketing method breakthrough exists in most businesses. The heart of many turnarounds is such a breakthrough. You might look for a new way to package your product, or a new type of product or service that would appeal to your existing clientele, or you might find an entirely new way to market a product or service you already have. Last year, an excellent company, the Sharper Image, seemed to reach its peak of profitable performance as a mail-order company. For there to be continued growth, there would either have to be a product breakthrough, perhaps a whole new product line of interest to the company's customers, or a marketing breakthrough. The firm's president, Richard Thalheimer, chose the marketing route and has opened Sharper Image stores in several key cities. He also has the opportunity for a product breakthrough, and if he ever hears this cassette, I invite him to call me. I'll tell him about it. In our industry recently, the Nightingale Conant Corporation achieved a major breakthrough in their business that created dynamic growth for them by pioneering sort of a new type of audio cassette program product, tape albums based on best-selling books. Last year they had a hit with Megatrends, this year with Iacocca. In our business, we've created a marketing method breakthrough with a new sophisticated method of selling high-priced audio cassette courses. So far, this breakthrough is almost 10 times the retail aspect of our business and promises to be responsible for a huge surge of growth during the rest of the year. You need to constantly think about each of the products or services you market, wondering whether there's another new market for them or another new way to market them. Avon Products is a company wrestling with interesting marketing strategy changes along these lines. Historically, of course, Avon products have been sold by Avon ladies. It's Avon calling. But that approach has produced declining sales in recent years for several different reasons. With more women working in careers away from home, there hasn't been anybody there when Avon came calling. Also, with more and more better-paying career opportunities opening up to women, it has been tougher than ever to recruit and retain Avon representatives. Avon has taken several interesting approaches to these difficulties. For one thing, they've become a direct mail marketer with their Avon Fashions catalog, capitalizing on their name, reputation, and undoubtedly customer names collected by their representatives. Avon has become a successful mail-order merchandiser of women's fashions, bypassing their representative organization and selling direct to the consumer. And recently they've admitted to working on methods that their representatives can use to sell Avon products to co-workers at the office rather than in their homes after hours. Today's Avon lady is likely to have a full-time career and only sell Avon products as an income supplement. Avon is also separately planning to again capitalize on its name and reputation by distributing an entirely different line of cosmetic products in retail stores. Another strategy that Avon should pursue, although I have no knowledge that they are, if they wish to continue marketing through a sales force, is to first greatly improve the income opportunity available to their representatives, and second, find a way to involve men as well as women in their business, so that husbands and wives can work together in a part-time Avon business. The first objective could be established by compensation changes and management overrides similar to multi-level companies like Amway, and product line expansion, possibly by acquisition. If I were managing Avon, I'd be thinking about buying a company like Tupperware or Shackley and combining both product lines and sales organizations. The second objective might also be accomplished by acquiring a company with products more conducive to marketing by men. Obviously, though, Avon's management is prudently thinking about and experimenting with various breakthrough possibilities to build a better business by redefining the business. And this is exactly the kind of thinking that is necessary to succeed in today's rapidly changing business environment. There is an excellent scene in a motivational film by Dr. Eden Ryle titled You Pack Your Own Chute that illustrates the problem with most thinking and the way you have to think to succeed. Dr. Ryle draws a 1 and an X in the sand and challenges a friend to turn it into a 6 with one line. He tries several possibilities, putting a 1 behind the X. Finally, she draws an S in front, making the drawing into the word 6. Her friend protests, saying that she indicated it had to be done with a line. But an S is nothing more than a curved line. It's just that we think of a line as being straight. We need to be able to step outside the confines of conventional, habitual thinking. A classic example of the problem, of course, is the railroad industry. They mistakenly thought they were in the railroad industry, instead of seeing themselves in the transportation industry. What business are you in? As your business grows and prospers, you'll probably redefine that business many times. McDonald's, for example, began as a hamburger stand. Today, among other things, McDonald's is a huge and powerful commercial real estate company, investing in building a property empire with franchisees' leases as funding. Continual, frequent rethinking of what your business is, should be, can be, and will be is a great success strategy. Regardless of the redefinition, though, the most important strategy of all is plain, simple excellence. The book, In Search of Excellence, has been very good for American business. It has caused many companies and business people to do better thinking about the quality of what they do and produce. As I travel this country, fly airlines, stay in hotels, rent cars, eat in restaurants, deal with many different vendors supplying the 5 different corporations I have interests in, I'm most often disappointed by the lack of excellence and the lack of concern for excellence apparent in most businesses, but thrilled by the occasional examples of real commitment to quality. Fortunately, the American consumer and the business client is, I think, growing gradually more demanding, and those firms that invest as much time, effort, and money in fostering quality in products and customer service as they do in advertising are going to see real dividends from their decisions. In my opinion, the way for a hotel chain to become number one is to cut their ad budget and invest in better people and more training for their front desk staffs. A car dealer could prosper by making their service departments better rather than getting a better ad agency. The excellence movement, sparked by that book, is a good, positive, productive, encouraging one. I think every business person should read In Search of Excellence, Passion for Excellence, and other books about quality, and think of quality as a marketing strategy. One of the things you'll find discussed in these books and present in the companies they profile is what Peters and Waterman called a bias for action. I like to think of this as a sense of urgency. Many businesses and their people seem to move along as if time was not a factor. I've seen companies take months to make rather trivial decisions. And I think speed is a factor in business success. And the speed that a marketing idea makes it from impulse to implementation has a lot to do with that company's bottom line. One of Murphy's laws says that everything takes longer and costs more than originally projected, and I'm afraid that's true. But I believe it's the role of the leader of the business to push and push some more, to keep the elapsed time between impulse and implementation to the shortest possible number of minutes. I really believe in the time management concept that says work expands to fill the time available, and that principle will kill you if you aren't careful. It's the positive pressure of tight deadlines and high expectations that get and keep a business into high gear. We're going to talk now about profit management, and I want to immediately make the point that the main motivating reason to be in whatever business you're in should be profit. If it's not, you don't belong in business. Yet as a consultant, I find all sorts of people in all types of businesses who are not primarily profit motivated. They've got their priorities mixed up. Business decisions made with something other than profit as the prime consideration are almost certain to be bad decisions. One profit-related issue is pricing, and I find that most business people underprice their products and services. It's my experience that price either isn't or doesn't have to be a very important factor in a consumer's decision or the success of a business. Personally, in fact, I like to be positioned at the high end of a price scale and have competitors focused on selling from the perspective of being cheaper instead of being better. One of the most successful chiropractors I know is surrounded in his area by other doctors who charge $25 to $35 less per typical treatment. Yet his practice is bigger and more successful than any 3 of his close competitors added together. In my experience, that's not an exception. That's a rule of business. Almost every time I consult with a business, one of the very first things we do is raise prices or fees. Sometimes the adjustment is pretty dramatic. In the speaking business, one speaker I consulted with had himself so far underpriced that we announced and implemented an immediate increase in his fees from $800 to $2,500 a day. He was in trauma, but although a few grumbled, he kept all of his existing clients and continued to add many more new ones. Price is the laziest and riskiest advantage to market with. Buying business with lower prices is relatively easy, but keeping business obtained purely because of price is difficult. One way that most businesses can immediately increase profits is by increasing their prices. most underprice, and wait too long to increase prices. A second source of profit improvement, directly linked to everything else we've discussed in this cassette series, is doing more business with each customer as opposed to obtaining lots of new customers. A lesson I've learned from the mail order business is that a buyer is a buyer is a buyer. It's infinitely easier and always more profitable to work at increasing the purchasing of your satisfied customers than it is to go out and add new ones. Everybody should read Russell Conwell's great book, Acres of Diamonds, at least once a month. This great story hammers home the point of finding opportunities right in your own backyard. Then the third source of profit improvement is cost control. It's so darned easy for costs to sneak up on you when you're not looking. I'm constantly catching some cost factor in our businesses that has sidestepped its controls and needs to be reevaluated. If you have the clout, a good policy to insist on and to contractually commit all your vendors to is advance written notice of any price increases. You should also take the time to check new bills against previous bills on a regular basis. Also, a set percentage of gross sales should be established for each cost category in your business, freight, payroll, supplies, etc., and checked each month. If total costs exceed the set percentage, you've got a problem. I also like to find ways for businesses to make additional sales to existing customers with zero marketing cost. In the mail order business, this is quite easy to do. It's done with what's called a bounce back offer. That is, a brochure making another offer packed in with the shipment of the ordered merchandise. This way, the sales literature piggybacks its way to the customer with the shipment. There's no postage, no advertising cost. Many mail order companies have developed very sophisticated, comprehensive bounce back marketing programs, including the insertion of dozens of different offers in with each outbound shipment. If you don't ship merchandise, but you do send monthly statements or send out invoices, the same idea applies. Or for the retail store, sales literature can be dropped into each bag carried out of the store by the customer. In a service business, the literature could be hand-delivered by the service provider. In some way, shape, or form, it makes good economic sense to combine the necessity of delivering the product or service with advertising for the next sale. Another source of profit improvement for most businesses can be found in improved collections. Many different types of businesses suffer greatly from accumulated past due account receivables. Personally, I have never let that problem develop in any of my businesses, even those that by their normal nature must give credit to get business. I firmly believe that the sale ain't made until you get paid. Effective marketing strategies can, to a great degree, prevent the buildup of unwieldy receivables. Discounts or premiums for advance or prop payments work extremely well. However, if you do have or ever develop a receivables problem, I urge you to take aggressive, speedy action to clean it up and get it back under control. Preserving rapport with a client or customer who can't or won't pay his bills is of little value. And left alone, collection problems tend to get worse, not better. In today's business environment, even large, long-established, well-respected corporations can and do find themselves in trouble, and then in bankruptcy. In that situation, you as a creditor could wait years for your money and then recover only a percentage of it. There are many vendors out there who never gave a second thought to extending credit to such firms as International Harvester or Continental Airlines, but they should have. Our companies are successful in getting Fortune 500 corporations, professionals, customers with long-standing relationships with us, as well as new customers, and even government agencies to pay in advance for their goods and services. Everybody tells me why it can't be done while we're doing it. I think one of the most important lessons that I've learned from restoring troubled businesses to health is that trends rarely reverse themselves. Trends don't change. People change trends. Waiting, procrastinating, delaying action on a problem or a negative situation is almost always an error. Problems don't seem to improve with age, nor do they go away on their own. The excellence idea, a bias for action, applies to negative as well as positive situations, to reactive as well as proactive behavior. When you get the first glimmer of something not right in your business, that's the time to look closer and to take corrective action. I think some business people spot the tip of a problem and choose to ignore it, feeling they've got enough to handle already. Why go looking for trouble? I'm told that in the Chinese language, the symbol for trouble and crisis is the same symbol used for opportunity. That shows incredible wisdom on their part. Most of the significant improvements in our businesses are byproducts of problems that reared their ugly heads, often at the worst possible times. In Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill wrote, "In every adversity lies the seed of an equal or greater opportunity." That's an idea that could help every business be more successful and every business person be more productive. It's a funny thing how closely related failure and success are, and how failure is usually the womb of a subsequent success. Most business problems, incidentally, have marketing-related solutions. To be very simplistic, sales solves most problems. Less simplistically, but valid in my experience, is that the success of a business is closely related to how much time, energy, and money its leaders can direct to marketing versus how much is consumed by internal problems. You need not only a bias for action, but a bias for sales in your business. A bias for selling is a determination that the other aspects and responsibilities of running a business will not be permitted to get in the way of the sales and marketing process. Well, we're just about at the point that I like the least, when it's time to stop talking. I hope that the ideas and strategies presented in this cassette series prove as valuable to you as they have to me.